The story begins with knights wanting to marry princesses, but to do so they need to sacrifice something. Warriors often die trying to get to the princess. In the dungeon, one princess was chained to a rock. She couldn't get out. The blue-eyed princess was kidnapped and chained to the wall by a dangerous dragon. The chained princess waited and hoped that some hero would free her. Suddenly a huge dragon appeared. He came close to the princess. Suddenly a warrior appeared in the sky and began to attack the dragon. The monster screamed menacingly. The knight activated a magic spell called Curse of Ice. The dragon began to freeze. The warrior hung in space under the protection of the magic circle. The dragon was frozen in ice. The princess looked at the warrior with excitement. She shouted to him that he was very strong. The girl noticed that the knight, among other things, was also very handsome. The princess shook her head to get rid of the obsession about the knight. The girl called the knight menacingly and loudly. The guy turned to her. The princess asked that she wanted to know why the warrior goes to such an extreme. The girl said that she promised the greatest reward for the knight. The princess of the Icelandic Empire was named Olivia. She said he could kiss her feet. The guy replied that he would refuse such a thing. He did not trust the torn white stockings on the girl's legs. Olivia became very angry. She asked whether the guy was pretending to be modest. After that, the girl screamed that the main character came here to her precisely for this. The knight turned around and was surprised that the girl decided that he had come here for her sake. The warrior asked the princess in surprise how it was possible to put him and the local NPC on the same level. Holding back a grin, the knight wanted to tell the princess the purpose of his coming to her. The warrior pointed his finger at the dragon and said that he came to the cave only for him. The princess was surprised at this answer from the guy. The dragon even felt shy from such unexpected words. The guy rose up in the blue rays and told the princess that marrying her was not part of his plans. The knight grabbed the sword and prepared to finish off the dragon with it right now. The warrior swung his sword. He said that this part of the game is the most exciting. The knight hit the dragon with his sword as hard as he could and shouted that everything was cleared. An excited schoolboy, sitting near the tablet, shouted that he was the king of this game. The teacher hit the guy on the head from behind and shouted that he apparently wanted to get another grade. The teacher shouted to the main character that he had attached his ass instead of his head. The teacher added that the guy should not waste time on stupid video games. The teacher hit the guy on the head again with a crumpled notebook and said that his parents were going crazy with worry because of his bad grades. The teacher told the student that he wouldn't even be able to buy a donut hole with his in-game currency. Unexpectedly, the guy grabbed the teacher's notebook with his own hand and did not allow himself to be hit further. The teacher became very angry. He angrily called the guy a brat. The student looked at the monitor. He asked the teacher if he could wait until he finished. The angry teacher shouted with all his might at the student and called him by name Kugai. The teacher once again hit the guy on the head with all his might and said that his own video games would destroy him. Suddenly the monitor screen lit up with a bright bluish light and some kind of transformation began. Kugai passed through some space like a matrix and found himself in game armor. Having looked around, the main character realized that there was no longer a school office around him. The main character was surprised to notice that he had been transported to the game world. Kugai was scared because he could not control his body. He flew in space with a sword in his hands. The knight swung the ball with all his might and wanted to hit the dragon with it. The dragon attacked the main character with acceleration, at which time the knight's sword flew to the side. At high speed, the sword hit the column and broke the chains with which the princess was chained. Immediately after being freed from the chains, the girl rose above the ground. The princess was surprised. She saw how nearby the Kugai lay on top of the dragon's mouth. The girl was surprised at this time the guy, barely able to resist, shouted that he couldn't move. The princess looked at the knight cheerfully and asked if this excites him. The main character looked excitedly at the girl and scaredly shouted to her that this did not excite him. The princess calmly asked the knight for forgiveness for disturbing him. Kugai was still fighting the dragon. Princess Olivia grabbed the sword and began to run away, wishing the guy all the best. Kugai asked the girl for the opportunity to explain. The main character found himself face to face with a very dangerous fire-breathing dragon. The dragon attacked Kugai with a huge stream of dangerous flame from his mouth. After being defeated by the fiery jet, the Kugai fell to the ground in complete unconsciousness. Lying on the ground, the knight felt that almost all his strength had left him. A dangerous dragon was still hanging over him. The dragon looked angrily at the lying Kugai with a fiery gaze. The guy decided that he was going to die in this game. The main character lay practically unconscious. At this time, the noise of the dragon suddenly disappeared somewhere. Some nice girl extended her leg in the direction of the main character and said that she was disgusted. Kugai opened his eyes and saw the girl's leg in front of him. At first he thought that Olivia had returned. He noticed that the princess next to him was wearing black stockings. The girl calmly said on behalf of the dragon that she had to transform into a woman. The girl put her foot on the guy's face. Kugai was very confused. After that, the girl said in an apologetic tone that she didn't mean to and it was so hard for her. Kugai was happy. He realized that in front of him there really was an evil dragon who had turned into a girl. She's gorgeous. The girl got angry and shouted to the guy not to laugh. She hit him with all her might with her tail. The knight began to make excuses to the girl that he laughed only once. The girl answered irritably that even a small laugh is disgusting. The guy contrived and grabbed the girl's tail. He asked her with excitement, "Who does she take him for?" Suddenly the girl stopped. She blushed and smiled contentedly. The girl felt good and relaxed. Sweat was running down her body and her face was flushed. The girl sat down relaxed on her knees. Kugai asked the girl with excitement what happened. The excited girl told the guy that he was a disgusting loser and asked how he knew. The girl pointed to her tail, at the end of which there was a heart. She said that touching this place turns her on the most. Kugai looked with great interest at the large heart at the end of the girl's tail. A very excited girl shouted to the knight so that he should not dare touch her tail. Kugai, touching the girl by the tail, asked her slyly where did all her courage go? The girl screamed for the guy to stop. The girl called the knight a lousy pig and said threateningly that he would pay. Suddenly the main character heard some noise. A group of people walked through the cave. Some man far away in the cave said that he was told that the knight was able to defeat the evil dragon. Kugai looked at the girl and thought excitedly that there were more and more people. The guy thought that the girl's tail looked very provocative. The girl screamed that her ponytail hurt. After thinking a little, the knight decided that it would be better to hide the girl's tail. Kugai stood and thoughtfully held the girl's tail in his hands. She was still sitting on the ground. The guy grabbed it and started twisting it. The girl asked in surprise, "What is he doing?" A warrior approached. He rejoiced at the princess's salvation and said that the king had ordered her to be taken away. The warriors noticed how the main character stood behind the girl. The girl shouted not to squeeze the Kugai too much. The guy shouted for the girl to tense up a little. The soldiers were very surprised to see everything that was happening. They did not expect to meet a knight here. Kugai stood behind the girl holding her clothes. The warriors shouted that all this is shameful. The soldier told the guy angrily that he had violated the princess in this dark dragon cave. After a short pause, the warriors cheerfully told the knight and the girl that they could continue in the same spirit. The main character was very surprised. He wanted to ask the soldiers again. Kugai asked in surprise, "Did the soldier just call the girl a princess?" The guy asked, "Is it really their princess in front of them now?" Kugai asked the warriors, "Don't they really know what the princess of their kingdom looks like?" The warrior said that he once saw the princess when she was a child. This was just before she was kidnapped by the evil dragon. The soldier approached the girl and said that the princess had become even more attractive. The warriors bowed and one of them said that the prince and princess should follow them as the king was waiting for them. Kugai asked in surprise, "Is it really true that they call him a prince?" The warrior turned to the guy and called him Your Highness. The warriors joyfully reported that the guy was the one who saved their princess. The soldier told Kugai that the king would give him everything he wanted, including a coronation. The guy saw in his dreams the wealth of a palace and beautiful wives. The girl said that she did not want to be a princess. She wanted to say that in reality she was an honorable and terrible dragon. The main character ran up to the girl from behind and tightly covered her mouth with his hand. The warriors were very surprised. The girl still wanted to say something, but the guy closed her mouth. The knight calmly told the soldiers that the princess said that she was terribly hungry. The guy shouted that he needed to hurry up. The warriors, together with the main character, the princess, walked through the cave. Kugai thought about it and realized that he was unlucky in the real world and not at all the best fate for him in the game. The knight told the princess that she had better start cooperating with him right now. The girl got very excited, as the guy grabbed her tail again. Kugai told the girl what he could do so that she would again fall into the web of pleasure. The princess told the guy that he was a disgusting pig and added that she would not help him even if he threatened her. The main character, accompanied by the princess, arrived at a large luxurious palace. Very tasty and exquisite dishes were served on the table along with the best drinks. The waitress came up, she told the king and his guests that all this was prepared for them. After that, the girl poured wine from a bottle into a glass. The princess smelled a breathtaking smell. The girl got ready to eat the food, she was glad that she was mistaken for a princess. The spirit of the dragon awakened in the princess, and she began to greedily consume meat. The king said sadly that the girl disappeared when she was 10 years old and he was glad that she returned to him. The queen told the king that their daughter had dark hair. The king replied that it did not matter at all. Prince Lucky said excitedly from his seat that his little sister had grown up a lot. The prince told his mother that if she put everything in as is, they would get everything they wanted. The princess continued to greedily consume food. Kugai could not understand what was happening to the royal family. The princess prepared to eat the baked chicken. The maid came up and said that you couldn't do that. The maid brought a knife and said that the princess should be elegant and refined and use cutlery. The girl did not pay any attention to the maid's words, she was preparing to continue eating. After that, the girl completely swallowed a huge baked chicken. After this, the girl was able to immediately live and swallow the chicken, to the surprise of everyone around her. The elegant princess, after eating the chicken, took only the bones out of her mouth. After eating the food, the girl licked her lips contentedly and spat out all the bones on the table. Members of the royal family were surprised how Olivia could behave like that and even ate the bones. Kugai was embarrassed because those around him did not remember the face of his own daughter. Suddenly there was a very strong blow on the door. It flew off its hinges, throwing away the servant standing nearby. A man suddenly entered, shouted very loudly that the girl was not a princess. Olivia ran into the room with a sword. She shouted that the girl sitting at the table was an imposter. The main character was surprised and scared. He remembered how he had recently freed Olivia. Princess Olivia was very angry. She put her foot on the table right in front of the king. The girl menacingly asked the king if he could hear her. She added that she is the real Olivia. The main character told quietly that the girl who came was a local savage. The king looked at the two girls and said that they now have two Olivias and they don't know which one is the princess. The girl Olivia was very angry. She angrily asked the king how dare he say such a thing. The girl grabbed the king and pulled at his clothes. She asked angrily how could he not recognize his daughter. The girl Olivia was very angry. Ona was still holding her father's clothes. The princess shouted that she would no longer talk to such a damn father like the king. The king was very much amazed that the girl addressed him so vulgarly. The king and queen noticed that the girl addressed them with a terrible manner and indecent tone. After this, the king and queen decided that this was their real daughter Olivia. The queen hugged the princess. Looking at everything that was happening, the main character decided to escape as quickly as possible. He quietly headed towards the exit. At this time, the main character's sword flew in the direction of the main character. Someone shouted at him to stop. Olivia shouted that the guy had committed a terrible sin by passing off a stranger as a princess. The princess shouted that she wanted to look into the face of the daredevil who came here. Kugai turned around and greeted the girl. Olivia remembered that she had seen this guy before. Olivia pointed at the knight and said threateningly that it was he who sucked up the dragon in the cave. Those around him were surprised and delighted at this word. The queen said that a guy is skilled if he can play around with a dragon. Olivia said very excitingly that it was difficult for her to forget the picture of the romantic kiss of Kugai with the dragon. After that, Olivia pointed to the girl at the table and said that the guy was having an affair with her. After this process, I ran up to the girl and shouted at her to stop eating her food. Olivia menacingly shouted at the girl at the table and called her a little whore. Olivia told the girl that she was now completely unnecessary here. The girl responded by burning her with a flame of fire. After the fiery attack, Olivia stood completely burned. Kugai realized that he did not have time to warn the princess in time. Olivia loudly shouted various insults at the main character and his girlfriend. After that, the princess ordered the guards to grab the Kugai and send the girl naked down the street. The knight shouted conciliatorily to Olivia that the girl had burned her and he had nothing to do with it. The girl said that if it weren't for the main character, if not for his threats, she wouldn't be here. At this time, one of the warriors decided to attack the main character. he jumped from above. The main character and the girl looked in fear as a warrior with an axe flew at them from above. The warrior missed with all his might and hit the floor with his axe so that the stones scattered. The knight and the girl were scared. At the same time, the warrior began to take out his axe in preparation to attack again. Kugai was very scared. Warrior even he was slightly hit in the face during an axe blow. The warrior swung his axe and commanded the others to take the main character. Various weapons flew at the guy from all sides. He realized that the soldiers would not hold back. Kugai was surrounded by warriors on all sides. He shouted that he was playing for fun, and not in order to die. The main character realized that he would need to activate his skills to escape. Kugai shouted that if those around him do this to him, then he won't hold back either. He activated the spell. The king and queen were very amazed to see a bright light and a fireball. The girl was surprised and delighted. She realized that the guy would help them escape. A fire sword appeared in the knight's hands and he realized that he could continue to fight. Kugai began to swing his fiery sword in all directions and prepared to fight against the warriors. The warriors screamed, they got scared. One of the soldiers shouted that the guy had a very powerful aura. Suddenly the sword flew out of the main character's sheath and fell to the floor. It suddenly became soft and fluid. Kugai looked at his damaged sword with fear and realized that there were problems in the game. Suddenly, in the hall at a low altitude, some inscription began to gradually appear. The inscription said that the main character was disqualified. The knight did not understand why he was disqualified. This behavior of the main character made Princess Olivia laugh very much. The princess laughed and said that the main character can only run away like a dog. Olivia told the guy that he overestimated his importance. At this time, an inscription appeared above the girl that she was a righteous NPC. The main character was surprised. He thought to himself if he had just seen the NPC's justice. Olivia accelerated and ran towards the main character with a sword. She shouted that that's it. Kugai asked in surprise, "What kind of world is this?" The princess replied that he was in the world of divine justice. The girl swung her sword, but the knight managed to dodge the dangerous blow in time. Olivia walked towards the guy. She said that he had deceived the pure innocent feelings of the dragon girl. Kugai was lying on the floor. He could no longer get up in time to defend himself from the princess with the sword. After that, the girl put her foot on Kugai's groin before finishing him off. The main character was scared and he also screamed in pain. The girl prepared to attack him. Olivia said that her sword would only need one swing to finish off the Kugai. Suddenly, something grabbed Princess Olivia from behind and did not give her the opportunity to strike with her Kugai sword. Some force very quickly threw the girl Olivia aside into the wall so that the columns scattered. Then the dragon girl came out. It was she who threw the princess aside with her wings and saved the main character. Beaten Olivia was very surprised that she was attacked by a dragon girl. The dragon girl said that the princess annoyed her and she endured it for a very long time. The dragon girl said that Princess Olivia compared her to the main character. After that, the dragon girl took the main character in her arms and pressed him in her chest. After this, the dragon girl said that Kugai was food that fell on her from the sky. The king was very surprised due to the fact that the girl had been a dragoness all this time. The royal warriors were very frightened when they saw an evil dragon in front of them. They started to run away. As the soldiers ran away, they shouted that they had seen that same evil dragon from the gorge. At the same time, a girl was sleeping on her huge bed and was tormented by restless nightmares. When the girl became completely scared in her sleep, she grabbed the blanket with her hand. The girl, due to nightmares, rolled on the bed from side to side. As a result, the terrible knowledge brought the girl to the point that she jumped up on the bed. The girl woke up in a cold sweat. Her name was Cassiopeia and she was a priestess of the Holy Lands. Some young woman came into the bedroom and asked if Cassiopeia had a nightmare. Cassiopeia was surprised to see a woman in front of her. She called her Countess Elise. The priestess asked Countess Eliza in surprise why she had come. Countess of the Holy Lands Eliza reported that she had news from the Islamic land. After this, Countess Lisa told the priestess that her message concerned the dragon. After that, Eliza sat down on the bed as a priestess. Cassiopeia was a little confused. Eliza turned to the priestess and said that she was very afraid of the golden dragon. After this, Countess Elisa told the girl that she wanted to accompany her to her bed tonight. Priestess Cassiopeia fell into a very deep, restless sleep after talking with Eliza. At that time, Eliza was talking in the palace with a girl who had come to her. The girl accused the countess of forcing her subordinate to do the difficult job of collecting information. At the same time, she herself spends the night with the queen. The girl with yellow hair told the countess that she was acting unfairly. Countess Elise said that looking after her holiness was a pleasure and a duty for her. The countess asked her subordinate Louise if she would envy her. The girl replied that never. The countess told the girl to give away the information that she could collect and could be free. Louise said that if the countess wants to hear everything from her, then she must add sincerity to her words. Eliza was very surprised and wary because her subordinate demanded sincerity from her. After that, the countess grabbed her subordinate by the clothes. Louise said that Elisa is very cruel. After that, the countess took out a small piece of paper from under her subordinate's clothes. Louise said in fear that the countess had discovered her. Eliza looked at the paper with disbelief and asked, "Is this really the knight who saved the princess from the dragon?" The countess looked at the guy's drawing and said that he looked like a pervert. At the same time, the main character was still in the palace. Princess Olivia fought there against the dragon girl. The dragon girl continued to fight off her dangerous rival. Olivia prepared to use the cannon against the dragon girl. She decided to herself that this could end badly. The dragon girl decided to activate a powerful spell called Fire Kitten. A huge cloud of flame in the shape of a cat appeared above the girl. The girl shouted that she would activate the dragon's lightning. A fire spell with enormous force and power struck Princess Olivia and threw her aside. Olivia was scared. The spell of the girl and the dragon affected her greatly. After that, the princess pointed her finger at her rival and said that she was a real dragon. Princess Olivia prepared to fire back at the dragon girl with a cannon. After that, the princess pulled the fuse using a cord and the cannon fired with all its power. One of the soldiers suggested stopping the girl. Another soldier said that he should not be a moron. The dragon girl was absolutely calmly able to stop the flying cannonballs with her wings. She said it felt hot and comforting. Princess Olivia was very surprised that the dragon girl was able to stop the shot like that. After this process, I decided to fire the cannon again. It had no effect on the dragon girl. Kugai said to himself romantically that he was addicted to the smell of scantily dressed girls mixed with the smell of gunpowder. The prince said displeasedly that the knight was staring at the fighting lady and shamelessly looking at the body of his sister. The main character looked irritably at the members of the royal family. He thought to himself that if it weren't for his shaking legs, he would have left here long ago. Kugai looked at the princess with the gun. He remembered that there was a rule that prohibited disqualified players from beating NPCs. The main character sadly thought to himself that everything in his life had gone wrong since the moment of his kiss with the dragon. Kugai and decided to himself that a kiss without a dragon is better than marrying Princess Olivia, according to the script. The dragon girl excitedly screamed at Princess Olivia that she couldn't stand it anymore. Kugai looked at the girl's chest and thought to himself that the dragon had feminine attractiveness. Unexpectedly, the main character noticed that the dragon girl was looking at him very piercingly. The guy noticed how the dragon girl waved her hand very excitedly. Kugai became worried. He ran up to the girl and asked how she was and what was wrong with her. After that, the girl suddenly grabbed the main character by the clothes. Kugai was very surprised. The girl, looking at the knight with an excited look, said that lust could lead her to sin. After this, the girl slyly said that she wanted to give in to lust. Kugai said irritably that the girl was turning him on again with her flirting. After that, the dragon girl turned around and ran to the side. She shouted that she wanted to soak in the magma. The guy grabbed the girl by the leg and told her to be patient since he was her food. Olivia appeared and she menacingly asked the knight, "Does he really want to come to an agreement with this princess?" Olivia prepared to load the cannon. She said that she is now the main character of this drama. The princess shouted that the dragon girl and the guy must die. The cannon begged because it could not accept the huge cannonball. The military was surprised how the process was going to shove something so big. Olivia pulled the fuse of the cannon, a shot rang out, and a huge cannonball flew. The dragon girl was afraid of the flight of the cannonball. Kugai decided that the time to act had passed. The guy shouted that he was activating a spell called Thunder Sword. After this, a huge lightning bolt appeared from the very depths of heaven and struck the palace. The protagonist then activated a spell called Thunder Barrier. Thanks to the spell, the dragon girl and the knight were protected by magical quick protection. The main character and his girlfriend stood protected by a magical network. The core launched by Olivia did absolutely no harm to Kugai and the dragon girl. Princess Olivia was surprised that the cannonball she launched simply landed. The knight thought to himself contentedly that although he could not attack, he could still defend himself. The king and queen were surprised that the Kugai did not receive even the slightest damage as a result of the shot. Kugai showed an obscene gesture and said that he was able to outwit and outplay the game. Unexpectedly, the main character noticed that gradually his protective network began to disintegrate. After that, lightning struck the floor through a hole in the palace ceiling and it began to collapse. Out of fear, the dragon girl fell to the floor. The knight was very surprised at this. The dragon girl angrily shouted at the main character that he had just destroyed the floor. The game system was surprised that the guy wanted to curse her. Princess Olivia shouted that the guy was nothing. After that, the princess shouted that the Kugai would not dare to face her. The guy felt that he did not fall through the floor, but fell on something from above. The knight was surprised because he noticed that he was flying on a large and terrible dragon. The dragon told the guy that she didn't want to save him, he just landed on her. Princess Olivia and the surrounding soldiers were surprised to see the Kugai eluding them on a dragon. The fire dragon lifted the guy high into the sky and flew through the broken ceiling of the palace. The knight flew across the night sky on a huge dragon in the bright light of the moon. Princess Olivia was amazed to see her castle completely destroyed. One of the warriors pointed to the flying dragon and said that their enemies were leaving and what should they do. Princess Olivia shouted menacingly at the soldier to shut up and follow her. The main character watched as he and the dragon moved away from the ruined palace. Kugai joyfully and calmly thought to himself that they had flown far away and now they would not be caught. The knight temptingly told the dragon that it was very good that he could fly. The dragon was surprised by these words. The dragon answered in surprise to the guy sitting on it that he had not been able to fly since childhood. Kugai asked the dragon in surprise what he was doing now. Drakosha replied that he didn't even know. Suddenly the dragon stopped its flight and began to fall towards the ground. Falling from a height, the Kugai shouted to the dragon to continue flying and not stop. As a result, the main character and the dragon fell together into some barn, breaking the roof. The guy fell at full speed into a pile of straw. There were a lot of cows around. The cows looked in surprise at the strange guests who had fallen on them. Kugai lay unconscious on the girl's chest. One of the calves told his mother cow that the girl's udder was even larger than hers. The main character began to gradually move into himself. He stood up and felt unbearable. The girl, having come to her senses, whispered that she was embarrassed. Kugai noticed that at that time he was lying on the girl's chest. The main character, very excited and full of desire, rushed at the girl and said that he would do this for her sake. The girl was very scared and covered herself. The Kugai flew at her screaming. Surprised cows watched everything that happened. Suddenly the knight heard someone plunging an axe into the deck from behind, very close to him. The girl asked Kugai that there is a sign on the doors that says that they are not open on Sundays. Behind the Kugai stood a girl who was smoking a long and thin pipe. She told the guy that he came here with something unusual. A girl with short white hair was smoking a long pipe and looking attentively at the Kugai. After that the girl said calmly that she was familiar with the taste of the milk of the wolf, the bear and the lion. The main character really liked the girl. He looked at her with romantic desire. After that the girl said very thoughtfully that she had never tasted dragon's milk. The main character, as calmly as possible, told the girl with cow horns that they were very sorry. Kugai said cheerfully that they were not here for sale, but were just flying by. The dragon girl hid behind him. After that, the girl threw an axe and it got stuck in the board. She shouted to the knight that he was ungrateful. The main character was very scared when he saw the axe. He realized that they couldn't just get out of here. The girl asked the guests in surprise, "Are they really going to refuse favor from the most powerful merchant of the Islamic Empire?" The dragon girl did not believe that the imperial merchant could be in such an abandoned stable. The girl explained that all this was due to the fact that she slept through the imperial business exam, but she had great trading productivity. Kugai cheerfully told the girl that she was a loser who could not get out of bed on time. After that, the girl pointed to the protagonist's friend and said that he would sell her this dragon today. The girl smiled slyly and said that legends say that an evil dragon can be domesticated. The girl decided that if the dragon stayed with her, then in theory she would be able to give milk. The girl said that thanks to the dragon's milk, the Imperial Commerce College would make an exception for her. After this, the dragon girl decided to fight back. She hit the owner of the cowshed with her tail. The girl was very scared and got hit with her tail. She did not expect that the dragon would attack her. After that the girl became very angry with the dragon. She didn't understand how she dared to hit her. The owner of the barn told the dragon in an offended voice that she had hit her. The dragon continued to beat her rival and shouted to her that for the first time in her life she had been offended by a herbivore. Kugai silently looked at the fight between the girls. He realized that the owner of the cowshed was tough in name only. The dragon grabbed her offender by the neck and shouted at her to taste her own milk. The knight realized that he liked what he saw before his eyes. Unexpectedly, someone announced that Her Highness the Princess had arrived here. The main character was very worried about such news. He didn't want to meet the princess again. The guy saw how some servant told the princess that the people they were looking for had landed somewhere here. Princess Olivia the Terrible ordered her subordinates to search everything here. The soldier went up to the calf, showed him a picture and asked if he had seen the ugly man and the girl in rags. Olivia menacingly shouted to the soldier that he would not get any information from the calf. Olivia said to ask the cow. The soldier happily said that the princess is really wise. The prince looked at everything that was happening and it made him feel very unpleasant and bad. At this time, the main character and his little dragon hid upstairs and looked down on everything. Kugai thought how good it would be if this were a harem game. In the game he had a lot of female NPCs with great looks. The owner of the cowshed said with surprise that she was seeing members of the royal family of the Islamic Empire. The girl admired the noble and majestic aura of Princess Olivia. After this, the girl said that she admired the sparkling of the royal flags in the sun. The girl was excited and thought to herself that she had seen the newly appeared goddess of war. After this, the owner of the cowshed began to shout to the honorable goddess that the people she was interested in were next to her. The dragon girl activated her tail to silence the cowshed owner. The main character told the girl that she brings them a lot of problems when she opens her mouth. She grabbed the girl by the horn and said, "It's terrible that she is an insignificant animal." The main character approached the girl from behind and grabbed her by the tail. He said she was a naughty cow. The girl wanted to scream, but she couldn't do it because her tail was wrapped around her. The girl did not understand why she felt weak and awkward. Kugai told the girl that she needed to be punished. The dragon realized that the guy used the same vile trick against the girl as he had used against her last time. Kugai twisted the girl's tail and thought to himself that the main weakness of all monster-like girls is their tail. The dragon looked at the main character and the girl next to him. She thought, what should she do if the guy wants to do the same to her? The main character grabbed the cowshed owner from behind with his hand. The girl still had her tail wrapped around her. The girl wanted to shout something, but could not say anything or break free because her tail was holding her back. The dragon looked and thought that she, too, could be in her place. The dragon thought, would she like it? All the while, the barn owner was able to escape a little. At this time the dragon felt that she was very excited. She decided that the girl had awakened a new attraction in her. The girl offendedly asked the guy how dare he play such obscene things with her on the holy Islamic land. After this, the girl threatened Kugai that the goddess of war would certainly not let him go. The guy took the girl's cheeks with his hands. The guy asked the girl sternly, will she really report them after they leave? Kugai touched the girl and said that he could only do it now. The girl thought that the night was becoming scary. The cowshed owner was scared. She decided that the main character wanted to kill her. Kugai told the girl that he wanted to take her with him. After that he picked it up with his hand. The main character carried the girl in his arms, and to himself he thought that he wanted to take a mulatto girl into his collection. The dragon looked at the knight and the girl and decided that so be it if there was no other choice. Kugai turned around and looked back. I was surprised that the girl just took it and agreed. The dragon was unhappy that he and the guy took the girl with them after all the previous tugs with the tail. The main character opened the doors from the barn and he went out into the street with his girlfriends. The girl asked where are they going? Kugai explained that they would hide in a small forest nearby. The guy carried the girl in his arms. She noticed that the dragon and the knight did not kill her so that she would remain silent. After thinking a little, the girl decided that the dragon and the main character were not so bad. The whole company walked through the forest. Suddenly the guy felt that it was very difficult for him to carry the girl. A little tired, the guy said sadly that the cow would still be too heavy for him. The dragon said that she wanted to eat. She offered to eat the girl right now. The girl began to resist and break free. She shouted that her companions were bastards. At the same time, Princess Olivia decided to calm down and drink a glass of milk. The princess knocked over the glass of milk in one gulp, so that it even spilled. After that, Olivia broke the glass on the ground and angrily shouted that the Kugai and the dragon had escaped. The princess shouted menacingly to the knights that they could not catch the two fugitives. The warriors began to make excuses. The prince said cheerfully to his sister that if you search aimlessly, you won't find anything. Olivia said that he has a stupid brain filled with stupid garbage and he has no right to open his mouth. The prince said that although he is inept, he has no equal in understanding women. The prince took a deep breath of air and said that he could smell the scent of a female. After thinking a little, the prince added that he could smell two individuals. Those around were very surprised. After that, the prince opened the door with his foot and shouted that the girls had gone towards the thick of the forest. The prince invited Olivia to go out the door. He said that if they set off immediately, they would have time to catch up. The princess said judiciously and confidently that her brother would not lie to her. Olivia walked down the path with the sword. She said that she would catch the fugitives and return. The prince looked after his sister very maliciously. He realized that it was very unlikely that she would return. The warriors said excitedly that there were many terrible monsters living in the thick of the forest. The guy turned around and convincingly told the soldiers that as long as he was there, everything would be okay. When leaving, the prince told the soldiers that if they were afraid, they could stay here and wait for their return. The warriors were delighted at the prince's offer. They said that they would stay here and wished them a good trip. Princess Olivia walked along the path. She thought that the knight would certainly not escape her. The prince followed Olivia. He slyly thought to himself that his little sister would definitely not run away from him. The dragon was lying with the guy on the earth. At that time, a dragonfly flew up and sat on one of her horns. Still lying on the ground and looking at the sky, the girl said displeasedly to the guy that she was hungry. Kugai just as apathetically answered his girlfriend that he knew. Dracosha asked displeasedly, "How did this happen?" The dragon turned to the side and said that she didn't know at all that this would happen. The dragon said that she would never send the cow for food. At this time, the cow returned with a whole armful of fruit. The cow said excitedly to her companions that she had found only this, pointing to the fruit. After that, the cow ate the apple with appetite and said that they were very sweet. The cow offered her companions to try the fruit. Kugai reached for the apple. The dragon began to cry that she wanted meat. The cow asked if the companions really wouldn't eat fruit. She said they were very tasty. The dragon arrogantly replied that only lower animals could eat such pitiful food. The cow got angry when she heard such words. The guy looked at the girl and asked, "Where does her tail grow from?" The cow told the dragon that she had been walking for a very long time and was looking for food with all her might. She suggested that the dragon go and look for food for itself. In the end, the cow was offended and said that she didn't even deserve to be the dragon's slave. The girl sat down and said she was offended that she received many injuries while looking for food. She started to undress. The cow sat and examined the wounds on her body. She said pitifully to herself that she was in pain. At this time, the dragon grabbed the girl's leg and said that she wanted to bite off a little. The girl began to fight off the dragon and told her to get away from her. Kugai looked at the girls and asked in surprise, "Do they really want to fight again?" The guy grabbed the girls and told them joyfully that they better come to him. The girls got angry. The dragon hit the main character in the face with his fist, and the cow kicked him. The main character, already on Earth, babbled that this was not what he expected and the girls misunderstood him. The dragon angrily and sternly asked the guy why he didn't want to give her the cow. After that, the dragon told the guy that they had been with him for a very long time, but he apparently had already made his choice. Kugai stood up and excitedly told the girl that he even admired her a little. The girl was amazed at these words and asked if he told her the truth. The main character confidently told the dragon that he was telling her the absolute truth. The dragon asked the knight excitedly if he would allow her to join what happened before. Kugai, I didn't quite understand the girl. The dragon reminded me of what Kugai wanted to do with the cow. She asked, "Does she need to talk about this in detail?" The main character was amazed. He decided that the girl could not think the same thing as him. The dragon told the guy that he only needed to do a little to make her satisfied. The knight told his girlfriend that he would allow her even more. He doesn't mind. After that, the dragon broke off one of its horns and asked Grozno the guy, why didn't he tell her before? The dragon wanted to pierce the cow with its horn. She shouted to the main character that she herself wanted to eat the cow's brain. The main character asked his girlfriend with great surprise, how did she remove the horn from her head? Kugai thought annoyed to himself that this was not what he meant at all. The knight told the dragon that he did not want to eat the cow. After this, the dragon angrily asked what the Kugai was calling her to join. The frightened cow said that she was cursing the dragon to eat herself to death. The dragon was surprised and indignant that such an evil curse was placed on her. The cow prayed for someone to come and save her. The dragon said that she likes it when her prey lies screaming before dying. Unexpectedly, someone from the outside said that if no one is there, this does not mean that you can do whatever you want. The guy and the girls were scared. The dragon asked in a whisper, who is saying this? At this time, a girl's voice told someone that he was a scumbag and that he should not approach her. The main character approached the dragon from behind, covered her mouth with his hand and told her to be silent. Princess Olivia thrust her battle sword into the ground with all her might. Kugai and his friends wanted to come closer. The knight parted the thicket and saw that the princess was standing in the clearing and the prince was standing opposite. The guy looked with great interest and attention at what was happening in the clearing. His companions were also attentive. The cow whispered that she saw the goddess of war. The princess excitedly thought to herself that her brother was hiding his abilities. The prince said in a very detached voice that they were not in the palace now and he could not order his sister. Olivia excitedly asked her brother, why did he bring her here, and certainly not for the sake of capturing the knight. The prince grinned evilly and asked his sister what was attractive about pursuing fugitives. After that, the prince, in an excited voice, shouted menacingly to the princess that he would tell her why he brought her here. The prince, with a burning gaze, shouted to his sister that he wanted to show her some really nice things. Olivia shouted at him not to come closer and called him trash. The prince was angry because his sister called him the most hated nickname. The prince said angrily and resentfully to his sister that she had looked down on him since childhood. The prince added that he tried to gain his sister's favor. Olivia continued to think he was disgusting. A very frightened Olivia asked her brother, what is he saying? Prince angrily asked his sister if she remembers what she did to him. The prince menacingly shouted to Olivia that he wanted her to get lost with him even more. The brother extended his hand to his sister and said that she should become as dirty as himself so that she would not look down on him. The prince shouted excitedly that he and his sister could become trash together. Olivia screamed at her brother to let her go. The main character said in surprise that the prince was some kind of beast. The prince, with burning eyes, shouted that he had trained hard and Olivia would not escape his grip. The main character was very worried. He understood that he could not fight the prince due to disqualification. Kugai shouted that leaving Olivia was not at all like a man. He was still thinking about the prince's words. The main character thought very quickly. He needed to find a way out of the situation now. Suddenly someone threw a stone at the prince's head and shouted that he was an idiot. The cow stood up from behind the bushes and shouted menacingly for the prince to let the goddess of war go. The main character thought joyfully to himself that the cow left him no choice. The cow, in an accusatory tone, told the prince that he was discrediting the honor of the imperial family and she would not allow him to insult the great goddess of war. The prince was very much amazed. He joyfully shouted that he saw a well-fed cow in front of him. The prince asked Olivia why she was silent, that she had such a beautiful girlfriend. The princess said that she did not know the cow. After this, Olivia told the cow not to meddle in other people's affairs, as she would not be able to cope with the prince. At this time, the Kugai began to slowly move away. The cow told the princess not to worry. The cow noticed that the main character wanted to hide. She caught him by his clothes. Olivia grabbed the main character and said that this knight should cope. The prince and his sister were very surprised. They looked at the main character with interest. Kugai told Olivia that he saved her, and she should show him a little courtesy. The knight asked the princess why she looks like a dead fish. He demanded that she wake up immediately. At this time, the prince grabbed the main character by the throat with his hand. Kugai was scared because he did not have time to fight back. The prince threateningly told the guy that Olivia would not yearn for a man like him. The prince raised the main character above the ground and asked menacingly what else he hoped for. Unexpectedly, the prince reminded the guy that he has a bunch of cute little animals, even without Olivia. The prince looked very menacingly at Kugai with a very angry and withering gaze. The main character said in a soothing tone that 2 girls would be enough for him. The angry prince angrily asked the main character how dare he brag to him. Prince asked the main character with interest, where did his dear dragon go? The prince still held the knight in his hands and asked if Dracosha really wouldn't save him. At this time, the girl was sitting in the bushes and decided that she needed to protect her breadwinner. She was afraid that the prince would be able to grab her nipples. The prince held the guy by the throat and shouted very joyfully that his dragon friend despised him. Kugai found the strength to speak. He said that he remembered correctly that it was not he who was trembling and hiding. The knight bravely said that the trash prince brought Olivia to this place by vile deception and tried to take advantage of her. Kugai asked the calm guy, is he really still trying to be strong? The prince shouted menacingly for the knight to repeat his words. The main character calmly said that good words are never spoken twice. He thought to himself that he was disqualified and had nothing to lose. The prince laughed evilly. He decided to punish the knight for not speaking. After that, Prince Grozno shouted for the Kugai to be silent forever. The main character decided that it was all over for him. Unexpectedly, something very much attracted the attention of the main character. He looked carefully at the prince. Kugai saw that the image of the game and the inscription were flashing on him, which stated that the prince was a righteous NPC. The main character noticed that something had just happened to the prince's game status. Unexpectedly, the prince's game status changed and he became a disqualified NPC. The main character realized that in this game each character has his own role. At this time, the cow was looking at him with excitement. Kugai realized that something happens to the game characters if they behave abnormally. The main character guessed that the character might be disqualified. The prince definitely went against the initial settings that were set in the system. Kugai put his hand on the prince's head and thought what could happen if he now has disqualified status. After that, the knight hit the prince's head on the ground and wondered if he could still do harm. Princess Olivia watched in surprise as the main character beat her brother. The cow was afraid that the main character was able to get out and was now beating his opponent. The main character continued to slam the prince's head onto the ground with all his might. The dragon looked at the main character with great surprise. She did not understand where his strength came from. The girlfriend couldn't understand how it was possible that the guy could freely beat the prince. Suddenly the bell rang and the system gave the guy a message that he was disqualified. After this, the main character noticed how he received 20 purification points out of 10,000. Kugai stood up and looked at the purification sensor with great attention. The prince fell to the ground completely exhausted. The knight looked at him carefully. The main character noticed that his purification number had changed and increased by 1. Kugai hit the prince with all his might and the purification indicator increased by 1 more. The knight began to kick the prince lying in front of him. The cleanse schedule continued to increase. The main character realized that the more he beats the enemy, the greater the number. The prince asked the guy not to hit him. The main character prepared to continue beating his opponent. The prince raised a white flag and asked the Kugai to stop. The knight told the prince that he didn't mind hitting him a couple of dozen times to score a couple of thousand points. At this time, Princess Olivia ran to the sword and pulled it out of the ground. After that, Olivia ran up and stuck her sword into the prince. The main character was stunned. Olivia shouted at her lying brother that he was a bastard. She decided to continue finishing him off. The princess chopped her brother down and screamed that he should die and that he was a pervert. Olivia screamed that there would be no mercy for the prince. She continued to hit him with the sword. Kugai and his girlfriends were surprised and frightened. The knight and the girls watched as the princess dealt with her brother. Kao said excitedly that Olivia was not like the war goddess she had imagined. At this time, the main character realized that it was time to run away. He decided to take his girlfriends with him. The princess finished off the prince with a sword and shouted that she would make him suffer. The knight ran away, carrying his girls in his arms. Unexpectedly, Princess Olivia shouted after the main character to stop. The princess put her foot on the prince's body and said that it was very wrong to leave without saying goodbye. Olivia looked at the main character and said that he was still very impolite. Kugai was surprised that the princess, after everything, was still not broken. He decided that she was the biggest bug in this game. The cow wanted to run away. She shouted to the princess that she was not with the guy and not with the dragon. Kugai told the cow that they would die together. Princess Olivia began to approach the guy, waving her arms. Kugai did not know what to do. The main character was very scared. He shouted that Olivia should not come near him. The princess swung at this time. The main character was very scared. The princess did not attack him with a sword, but put her hand on his shoulder. Olivia told the knight that despite their past, he saved the grand princess. After this, the princess said that their conflict was resolved successfully. Kugai was surprised and afraid that Olivia had become lenient. The princess said with a calm voice that Kugai was not as uncouth as the crown prince was. The main character thought irritably to himself that Olivia is absolutely the same. After that, Olivia extended her leg towards the knight. She said there was little he needed to do to be forgiven. The princess said that the guy should kiss her toes as a sign of gratitude and devotion. Olivia slyly thought to herself that the main character would definitely refuse her demand. Olivia thought to herself that the knight should have died from the moment he saw her enraged. Kugai was still looking in surprise at the girl's leg. After that, the main character carefully took the princess's foot with his hand and kissed it. Princess Olivia was very amazed and surprised that the guy still obeyed her demand. Kugai kissed the girl's foot. She felt very embarrassed and shy. The main character looked at the princess with a romantic gaze and asked if she liked it. Suddenly Princess Olivia got scared and screamed and began to fall to the ground. The main character shouted cheerfully to the princess to be careful. He decided to pick her up. Kugai held the princess in his arms. He asked if she was okay. The knight told the princess that she was inattentive, and her feet were tender and smelled like roses. After that, the main character said that Olivia's legs would be a temptation for any man. The princess did not understand why she wanted to listen to the words from the knight again. The main character smiled at the girl and licked his lips. He said that he wanted it that way. Kugai took the girl's foot in his hand and said that he would please every millimeter of her body. Princess Olivia was very embarrassed. She did not expect such behavior from the knight. Suddenly the princess hit the guy's face with her hands and told him to get out. The princess shouted angrily to the guy that he was a libertine. Ona demanded that he move away. The knight thought that the princess lived in a cave with a dragon and now she could not resist him. Olivia shouted to keep the guy out of sight. The main character jumped up and said cheerfully and confidently that today he is still incredible. The dragon suddenly said that the main character smells like fried meat today. Princess Olivia decided that she needed to quickly run away from Kugai, otherwise she might get screwed. Olivia thought that she was a noble princess and there were no such problems in the dragon's cave as now. Unexpectedly, the princess crashed her head into the warrior's uniform at full speed. The warrior told Olivia joyfully that they had finally found her. The girl put the apple to her bruised head. The soldier explained to the princess that they began to worry whether something had happened to her, and the prince, Kugai, and the dragon looked at everything from the side. Suddenly the warrior saw something that greatly surprised and frightened him. He wanted to see better. The soldier leaned a little to the side and he wanted to ask the princess what he just saw. The warrior pointed to the prince's body and asked if this was true. Olivia was scared. After that, the princess covered the warrior's mouth with her hand so that he would not ask anything more. Olivia sternly told the soldier that he saw on earth the excrement of an animal suffering from diarrhea. The princess menacingly told the warrior that he did not see the corpse of Prince Loki in front of him. The warrior said that the corpse of Prince Loki lay in front of him, although he initially mistook it for animal excrement with diarrhea. The soldier noticed that the princess was looking at him threateningly. He realized that he had said something wrong. Olivia grabbed the soldier by the neck and told him that he now knows everything and therefore let him not blame her. Then another soldier ran up. He was very scared because the princess wanted to kill his colleague. The soldier shouted very loudly into the megaphone that Princess Olivia had killed Prince Lucky. Another soldier poked his head out from behind the bushes. He definitely did not hear or understand what the warrior had just shouted. After this, the soldier further shouted to his colleagues that Princess Olivia had given Prince Lucky diarrhea. Princess Olivia and the soldier were very surprised at what they had just heard. The soldier sitting in the tree was amazed at what he had just heard from his colleague. The soldiers asked if another soldier had said that Princess Olivia saw Prince Lucky getting his ass pounded. Olivia noticed how the soldiers began to run away. Their leader said that they urgently needed to convey news to the palace. The princess decided to herself quite that such a turn of events would be to her advantage. Very soon a group of soldiers returned to the palace and reported all the news to the king. When the king heard the news from the soldier, he became angry and slammed his fist on the table. The king asked if the princess had really told them that they needed to celebrate 7 days of mourning. The surprised queen could not understand what the passing warrior had just told them. The soldier apologized because he said something stupid. He added that he did not mean 7 days. The warrior shouted at the top of his voice that the princess was going to kill the queen. The king was very frightened. The soldiers approached and showed the princess a wanted card. Olivia was accused of being a traitor to the royal blood and 10 gold coins were given for her capture. The princess looked at her image for a long time. Kugai asked Olivia, "Is this really her depicted as a child?" The guy noticed that Olivia looks worse now. Thought to myself, why do people grow up? The cow looked at the picture of the princess on the paper and said that she was cute there. The dragon said in a reasonable tone that someone had said before that she was making strange sounds. The warrior told the princess that the king made this decision and they had absolutely nothing to do with it. The soldiers scaredly told Olivia that they were not guilty of anything. If she wanted to beat someone, she could beat the king. The main character said that he was waiting for a mortal fight, and now he sees only the soldiers' pleas for mercy. The guy saw the game mark on top of the princess. He realized that because of the accusation of a crime, she could be disqualified. Kugai thought that even the unapproachable princess would find it difficult to bear the fact that her parents abandoned her. The main character approached the princess from behind and put his hand on her shoulder. He told her not to take everything to heart. Kugai told Olivia that although he was pursuing her to kill her, her parents found a very cute photo. This proves that they still love their daughter. Princess Olivia was not impressed by the words of the main character. She wanted to say what really happened. The princess wondered, does she really look so helpless in the eyes of her parents? After that, Olivia snatched the document on her search from the soldier's hands. She said that there should be a limit to human stupidity. The princess said that the photo was of poor quality and could only be used to attract old perverts. She tore the document. The princess scattered pieces of paper around and said that not a single killer could carry out the order. Olivia didn't even notice that pieces of paper hit the blue-haired archer girl right in the face. Those around were surprised by the appearance of the archer. She took out her bow and prepared to attack the princess. Princess Olivia asked the archer, "Has she really come for her now?" The archer did not answer. She sat in silence. Those around looked at her. Princess Olivia asked the archer suspiciously, "Is she really that old pervert who saw her photo?" Unexpectedly, the archer very quickly took out 3 arrows from her quiver and prepared to shoot. The huntress aimed her arrows at the princess. Olivia thought there was some kind of crazy woman sitting in front of her. The princess asked the archer if she needed to try for some 10 gold pieces. The cow looked carefully at the hunter's uniform. She noticed that she had a bow made of crocodile bone and arrows made of porcupine briar. The cow said that she could see the same lady in front of her. Kugai was surprised that the girl knew the hunter. After thinking a little, the cow said that she saw exactly the lady and she should have found out about her earlier. The human fangs on the hunter's head show countless retributions in blood, and the earrings are filled with the spirit of resentment. The archer belongs to a clan of hunters that has made countless nobles cry. The bow hunter belonged to a very dangerous clan called Heijelen with her own coat of arms. The heiress of the clan is a first-class killer surrounded by many blind souls. The archer wears a necklace of teeth from slain nobles on her head as trophies. The deadly huntress is known as the Hog Rider. The main character and the dragon girl were very amused by the nickname of the archer. Kugai thought, what could happen if the huntress is really so dangerous, as the cow says? The main character realized that they would definitely not get out of the water unscathed. He saw that the game indicated that the huntress was a legitimate NPC. The main character wanted to turn to the dragon, but she had already disappeared somewhere very quickly. The main character was surprised to notice how the dragon ran up to the huntress and greeted her. The dragon looked and saw that the archer was riding a real pig. The dragon looked at the boar with very large eyes and genuine interest. She picked up the hunter's robe. The dragon asked the huntress with great interest, "How does it hold on to the boar when it sits?" The main character became very worried. He realized that he knew what the dragon girl was getting at now. One of the warriors asked if the girl on the boar was really a murderer. He added that only an idiot would ride such an animal. Soldier quietly said that although the archer wants to maintain her self-esteem, she most likely has already beaten her ass. Those around them wondered with interest what was under the mantle and was there really something vulgar there. The main character unexpectedly shouted to everyone around him that the future head of the Hyglin clan should not be treated this way. Kugai said that there was no point in asking about the chastity of this defenseless killer girl. The knight said that he himself wanted to personally check the innocence of this person now. The main character lifted the mantle on the girl. He noticed that everything was great and smooth. The guy looked under the killer girl's robe for a very long time and could not lift it up. Unexpectedly, the main character turned around and silently stepped aside. The archer looked at him in surprise. The girlfriends looked at the guy with great impatience and told him to quickly tell everything. Princess Olivia asked, "Is the huntress really peerless under her cloak too?" The main character looked shyly at his girlfriends. He couldn't say what he saw. Kugai slyly said that the cow was simply deceiving them. The girl was indignant and said that her eyesight had never failed her. The guy said that the archer has something that contradicts the title of first-class assassin. The main character romantically said that the huntress killer wears panties with cute little bunnies on them. The archer was very shy when she heard such words from the main character. She was silent. The dragon and the main character laughed very hard and joyfully together. Unexpectedly, the main character felt something hit him very hard in the body. Turning around, the Kugai saw a red, brightly burning arrow pierced into his ass. The cow became very worried when she saw the arrow sticking out of the knight's backside. The main character fell to the ground and muttered that his naivety had only now opened his eyes. The archer used the clan's secret technique called Curse of Foul Blood against the knight. The archer girl was very and seriously angry from embarrassment because of the words of the main character. Princess Olivia looked at everything that was happening with interest. She said the case was taking a new turn. The princess said that first the huntress appeared here, all so white and fluffy. Olivia added that the thing the knight got in the ass looks very scary. The princess said that the archer's attack on the main character affected her. Olivia put the gun down and shouted that it was on fire. The soldiers were surprised that the princess brought her cannon again. Kugai and the cow were surprised and delighted. They didn't understand how Olivia was able to get the gun. The princess put her foot on the cannon and told the Kvass killer to attack her. She was ready to fight head to head. Princess Olivia menacingly shouted to her rival that they would now see which of them was the cruel woman. The hunter-archer very calmly briefly called everything that was happening madness. The pig ran at full speed in the direction of the princess. At that time she jumped high. The huntress was soaring high in the sky with her bow. People from below looked at her. The soldiers were very surprised at how high the archer jumped. Someone was watching her through binoculars. The huntress sang a song while flying, asking the strong wind to weaken her enemies. The huntress pulled an arrow on her bow and prepared to shoot. She activated the lightning strike spell. The archer prepared to use a triple killer blast against the princess. The arrow launched by the archer flew at high speed in the direction of Princess Olivia. The cow shouted excitedly that because of this spell everything around would be blown up. The cow was scared because they were being attacked from both sides. A fire arrow was flying at them and a predatory boar was rushing. Olivia was scared. She realized that she could not fight back with her gun. To protect the princess and girlfriends, the main character activated the Raging Flame spell. Kugai launched a spell called Fire Wall Elevation. Pillars of fire appeared all around. The spell was beneficial, as it was able to stop the attack of the wild boar. A huge pillar of fire also scorched the archer hunter. The high temperature began to melt her clothes. Due to the very high temperature, almost all of the hunter's clothes burned to ashes. As a result, the archer appeared before others almost completely naked in her underwear. The huntress said that the guy used the purest fire magic in the highest performance. The dragon very pitifully told the main character that she felt sorry for Kugai. The dragon said in surprise that the guy's ass looked as if hyenas had chewed it. Kugai was surprised that the girl was staring at his ass. He had a big red needle sticking out of his butt. Princess Olivia told the guy with approval that he had done well. Olivia prepared to continue shooting. Looking around, she said that even the shadow of the killer could not be seen. The princess raised a huge cannonball in her hands. She prepared to shoot at the hunter with it. Olivia shouted that no matter how powerful the rabbit was, she was no match for her. She held a bunch of cannonballs in her hands. Kugai said in surprise that this was too much. The cannon was most frightened. She prayed that the princess would not put so many cannonballs into it. At this time, the angry huntress threateningly shouted to her opponent to shut her mouth. After that, the huntress pointed to her boar and said the words of a special spell. After that the boar grunted. After activating the spell, the boar began to shoot its thorns to the side, then they turned into a huge whip. The huntress grabbed a whip made of thorns and menacingly shouted to Princess Olivia that she was going to die. Olivia filled the cannon to capacity with cannonballs. She told the huntress to stop putting on airs. After that, the princess grabbed a rope with a fuse and prepared to shoot. The princess shouted to her rival that she was even worse than her trash brother Lucky. Kugai shouted to Olivia to wait. The main character noticed that the princess received the title of disqualified NPC from the system. Moreover, the huntress had the status of a righteous NPC. Kugai shouted to Olivia that her status was no longer green. After that, the princess pulled the fuse from the cannon and it fired all the cannonballs. A huge fiery whirlwind flew out from the front of the cannon in the direction of the huntress. As a result, only fire reached the dangerous huntress from the cannon. The nuclei did not hit her. The main character was very amazed and embarrassed by what he saw together with his girlfriends. As a result, the huntress sat unharmed on earth. She was all smeared with yellow mucus. Olivia looked sternly at the gun and asked her in surprise how could this happen. The dragon pointed to the cannon and said in a surprised voice that she had diarrhea. The princess was surprised. The upset cannon told its owner that everything inside her was already broken. The angry princess swung her leg with all her might and hit the cannon so that it flew to the side. The cannon was lying to the side near the bushes. Olivia cheerfully said that it was only diarrhea and that it could happen to anyone. At this time, the huntress began to rise from the earth. The princess wondered what she should do. Olivia pointed at the main character and said that he must now engage in battle. Kugai asked, did the princess admit defeat? The cow and the dragon watched as the main character argued with the princess. The knight reminded Olivia that she had just been very brave. The princess explained that she was brave as long as she believed she would win. The main character turned around and began to leave. He said that he was too lazy to argue with the princess. The knight told the princess that the huntress had come for her, so let her sort it out. Kugai decided that he did not want to be beaten, so you need to get away quickly. Olivia told the guy that they were partners who had just fought side by side. The princess took the guy by the hand and asked, does he really want to run away? Olivia thought that if we were to die, it would only be together. The knight told the princess that this matter had nothing to do with him. He felt that she grabbed him quite tightly. After this, the main king, accompanied by 3 girls, began to leave. He decided to sneak away with them. The huntress looked displeasedly after the fugitives. She called out to them loudly and sternly. The main character and his girlfriend stopped in fear. The huntress asked, have they already played enough? Unexpectedly, the main character turned around and launched a powder core at the hunter. The launched cannonball from the guy flew straight in the direction of the hunter and hit her. Kugai looked in the direction of the huntress and was very surprised. He said that when there is such a girl opposite, it is difficult to escape. The knight noticed in surprise that the dust was clearing and the huntress was standing nearby in front of him. The huntress, calm but very menacing, told the main character that he was very strong. Kugai got scared. He realized that he would not be able to hit his opponent with the help of his magic. The huntress took out her bow and invited the main character to fight face to face. At that time the knight heard someone approaching from behind. He turned around in surprise. The dragon told the huntress that if she wanted, she could fight her. The archer was surprised at this proposal. The dragon protected the main character with her body. She decided to explain to her rival why the knight could not fight. After this, the dragon calmly explained to the amazed huntress that the main character could not fight. The main character turned to the dragon girl very excitedly. He was worried about her. Kugai told the dragon that he was very grateful because she protected him, but he was hurt by the words that he could no longer defend himself. The girl explained that sometimes the guy succeeds, but most of the time not very well. The knight shouted angrily that the girl did not know all his abilities. He added that he would make her recognize his strength. The girl hunter was very angry when she heard the conflict between the dragon and the main character. After that, the huntress fired several arrows from her bow against the Kugai and the dragon. All 3 arrows flew in the direction of the dragon. The knight shouted to her to be careful. The dragon was not at all afraid. She opened her mouth to swallow the arrows flying at her. Kugai was very amazed. The dragon calmly swallowed and survived all the 3 arrows that hit her. The hunters and the knight were very surprised at how quickly the dragon absorbed all the arrows. The main character asked his girlfriend with great surprise, how could she just eat all 3 arrows? The main character ran up to the dragon and grabbed her by the cheeks and asked her if she was even a person. After that, the Kugai ran up to the huntress and asked angrily, does she have a conscience? The huntress tried to escape from the hands of the protagonist. She told him to unhook. The archer was very surprised. She couldn't understand why her arrows didn't hit the girl. The dragon cheerfully explained to the main character that she was, after all, a holy animal of the highest level. The dragon explained very menacingly that her stomach could easily process elephant tusks. Unexpectedly, the dragon said dreamily that fresh boar would be much more appetizing to her. A girl with a hungry look approached the pig. He was very scared. The dragon attacked the boar and shouted that the meat should be eaten raw and that's how it will be much tastier. The hunter got scared and realized that she needed to save her animal. She remembered the necklace made of imperial teeth. The huntress prepared to activate the revival spell for the imperial teeth. After activating the spell, the necklace with teeth rose above his head and began to glow. The dragon still wanted to eat the wild boar with great appetite. Kugai got distracted and looked at the huntress. Those around her noticed how huge black whirlwinds began to swirl around the archer. The spell seemed to attract magical energy from the people around her to the huntress. The cow was scared. She realized that the huntress was absorbing the surrounding magical power. Immediately the cow felt very bad. It was as if her life force had left her. Olivia asked the cow with poignancy why she suddenly went soft. The exhausted cow explained that she had little mana and could not resist the powerful suction force. The spell also had a very destructive effect on the dragon. She also felt exhausted. A knight approached Dracosha from behind. He wrapped his arms around her stomach from behind. The dragon asked the guy in surprise, what is he doing? Kugai explained to his girlfriend that he would try to help her contain the spell. After that, the knight brought his fingers to the girl's stomach and began to transfer energy to her. The main character told the dragon to take a deep breath. This should have helped her. Guy asked the girl if she felt a flow of heat in her body. The dragon replied that because of the guy she felt heat all over her body. The dragon thought to herself excitedly that the knight's chest was hotter than lava for her. At this time, the huntress turned to the spirit of despair, which was forbidden in the smoldering tooth. The archer commanded that the spirit of despair release its subsided wrath outward. The cow felt as if she was being pulled to the side against her will. The cow knocked on the princess. Olivia yelled at the cow to stay away. The cow explained to the girl that for some reason she was drawn to her. The dragon ran to the main character in fear. She thought that this was all turning into a violent murder. The dragon jumped on the guy and told him to take hold of her. The guy activated his spell and told the girl to loosen her grip a little. At this time, Kugai noticed how the princess continued to fight off the cow. As a result, Olivia fell to the ground, and a cow fell on top of her. The girl became worried because the princess's body was now under her. The cow turned to Olivia and said that it was up to the princess whether she allowed her to put pressure on her body. The cow shouted in surprise to the princess that she had revealed herself. Olivia answered menacingly that the cow should not say such a thing. Kugai got angry and worried because he was the one who had to do the protection spell. At the same time, the dragon, out of fear and excitement, pressed itself to the protagonist's face. The main character was very embarrassed because the girl pressed her breasts to him. Kugai whispered to the dragon very excitedly and irritably that he almost suffocated. Unexpectedly, something very much attracted the attention of the main character. He looked in the direction of the huntress. Kugai decided that this was all too much. The huntress was able to summon a huge demon with an axe. The cow was very frightened when she saw the demon appear. The princess asked the girl, does she really know the man with the axe? An evil demon in the form of an old man with a gray beard and burning eyes cleared his throat loudly. The main character held the dragon in his arms. The demon shouted menacingly that he had been imprisoned in the abyss for hundreds of years. The evil demon shouted loudly throughout the entire area that he had been summoned again. The cow quietly told Olivia that the Hyglin clan was conducting a hunt for the nobles. The story tells of a very ferocious and merciless clan that was able to survive after almost complete destruction by the Hyglin clan. The consciousness of the clan members was in their own teeth, which were pulled out during life. As a result, the clan members turned into deadly spirits. They are the ones used by the Hyglin clan for battles. the huntress told the demon named Bluebeard to get rid of her rivals. The main character was very surprised and scared. He realized that they were opposed by a Bluebeard. Kugai remembered a character named Bluebeard from fairy tales who killed his wives. The main character fearfully realized how dangerous the fairy tale villain Bluebeard would be against them. The evil demon cleared his throat and began to examine those around him with his burning gaze. Bluebeard looked at the dragon and said that she, a lovely and fragrant girl, should leave the main character. Kugai was running away with the girl on his shoulder at that time. Suddenly the knight felt that he could not run, something was bothering his legs. Kugai noticed how tongues of dark red flame crawled out of the ground. They made it difficult to run. Bluebeard called out to the dragon and demanded that the girl become his bride. The dragon, scared and excited, said that she refused. The knight was holding her in his arms at that time. Bluebeard, coughing, was approaching the guy with the girl at that time. The main character could no longer move. He was bound with bright red burning ropes. The knight angrily shouted at the Bluebeard that the girl did not want to go to him. The dragon was very scared and excitedly called the guy Stinky. Kugai told the dragon that it was very difficult to lift it and it seemed like he had fallen into his pants. The dragon noticed that the guy's hand was covered in ropes. The girl shouted to the guy to let her go, otherwise his hand might come off. Angry, the knight told the dragon that it was not up to her to decide what he should do. The guy told the dragon that if he let her go, she would have fun with the Bluebeard and his tentacles. The girl pressed herself close to the main character. Kugai said that he could not watch such a spectacle. The main character of Grozny shouted to the Bluebeard to stop thinking about the girl. The demon Bluebeard got very angry and called the main character impudent. Bluebeard said that he hates such pathetic lovers as Dracosha and Kugai. He added that he wanted to make them a couple of dead ghosts. The main character decided to try to escape. He soared up, carrying the girl in his arms. Bluebeard menacingly shouted to the main character and the girl that he would swallow them both. The main character was happy. He saw a good opportunity to save the girl. Kugai threw the dragon in the direction of the princess and told her to catch it. Olivia was surprised. The princess excitedly told the guy that she was absolutely not sure whether they could escape. Kugai reminded the girls that there was a dragon among them. The knight said that the dragon would be able to pick up the girls and they would be saved from here. The guy reminded me that dragons fly. The dragon answered in a very frightened voice that she couldn't. Bluebeard prepared to swallow the knight. The guy shouted to the girl to never give up. At the same moment, the demon Bluebeard completely swallowed the main character inside himself. The dragon watched with tears in her eyes as the guy disappeared into the insides of the Bluebeard. Kugai began to slide inside the Bluebeard demon through the esophagus. The main character fell deep into the insides of Bluebeard's esophagus. Lying in the demon's stomach, the guy thought angrily to himself that it stinks very strongly in here. Kugai felt around him the unpleasant senile smell of his already completely stagnant grandfather. The guy thought thoughtfully to himself that people shouldn't abstain, otherwise they'll get fat. The main character thought, why was the man bony on the outside but so soft on the inside? Kugai remembered that he saw the inscription above the Bluebeard and it was red and said that this demon is an evil spirit. For this reason, the main character can calmly hit the demon. The main character hit the Bluebeard with a flourish in some place in the insides. After that, the system sent a message to the guy that his score had increased by 5 units. The main character prepared to continue to beat the Bluebeard from the inside. He found his weakest point. Bluebeard felt something inside him beating. At this time the dragon was still falling to the ground and the friends wanted to catch it. Princess Olivia was able to keep her dragon friend from falling hard to the ground. Bluebeard approached the girls and scared them. He asked the dragon why she was sad. The demon cheerfully said that not a single worthless clown like the main character deserves the girl's tears. Laughing, Bluebeard said that the dragon had not yet tried Kugai as a man. The demon added that the girl would marry him and his feelings for the knight would disappear. The dragon angrily shouted a bunch of insults to the demon and that she would not marry him for anything. Bluebeard was very angry at what the girl just said. The dragon added that the demon is so creepy that even a homeless woman wouldn't mess with him. Bluebeard was very offended by the words that the dragon said to him. After that, the girl made a couple of indecent gestures and shouted that she has a high status in the world of dragons and despises people like Bluebeard, who cannot even have children. Princess Olivia was very happy and admired the gestures that the dragon showed. Olivia realistically imagined a couple of the main character and the dragon showing gestures. The princess realized that the dragon was in love. The cow shouted to Olivia that now was not the time for that. Bluebeard began to wail offendedly that no woman had ever insulted him like that. The demon very angrily asked the girl why she insulted him so much. After that, Bluebeard shouted that the dragon is a woman who does not know her place. The cow said, scared, that they wouldn't have time to escape. Bluebeard stuck out his long tongue and said that the dragon would make him fucking obsessed. Olivia said she felt uncomfortable because of the smell and the warmth from her grandfather. The cow said that nothing was clear, but it was very scary. At the same time, the demon wanted to grab the dragon girl with his tongue. She released her wings. The dragon, flapping its wings, shouted to the Bluebeard that he must die. The princess was glad that the girl had opened her wings. The cow exclaimed that they were now saved. The dragon began activating a special spell to increase her strength. The dragon shouted to Bluebeard that he was the only one here who didn't know his place. The girl menacingly asked the demon who allowed him to stick out his vile tongue while courting her. The girl said that maybe even the main character did not have time to explore the place where her tongue is located. The dragon said that the Kugai had already entered the Bluebeard's vile mouth earlier. Flames were raging all around. The dragon shouted to the Bluebeard demon that she was very angry. The flames reached the demon. The dragon demanded that he return her knight. The cow was surprised at the mighty flames around her. However, the fire did not have a serious effect on Bluebeard. The fire burned all the clothes on the demon. He shouted for the dragon to turn up the heat even more and envelop him more strongly in his flame. The dragon and the other girls were very surprised that Bluebeard was not afraid of her fire. The huntress looked at everything that was happening. She thought that her rivals were very naive. The demon shouted that he felt very good and hot. The huntress said that Bluebeard died, burning in the castle. Then he was subjected to ignition in the fire of the underworld. The huntress added that she was not afraid of the dragon. She couldn't even awaken the blood of the ferocious dragon. After that, the huntress ordered the demon not to be distracted and to quickly finish with the dragon. The demon looked at the dragon and said that she deserves to die without torture. Bluebeard continued to attack the dragon with his fiery tentacles. The huntress calmly thought to herself that her rivals turned out to be very weak. The main character, sitting inside the demon, said that weak people like to mock others. The huntress was very surprised to hear such words. It was not clear who said them. The demon began to spin around. I really wanted to know who just said that. Kugai shouted to Bluebeard that he was a ghost that was hiding in his stomach. Princess Olivia noticed with surprise how many golden swords appeared around. Many golden swords appeared around, aimed at the demon. Kugai shouted that he would not allow his women to be taken away. Many swords flew towards the Bluebeard to hit him. The demon shouted angrily and irritably that he knew that the knight had not died yet. Bluebeard asked if the guy really expected to pierce his bone armor with some toothpicks. The demon began to swing his huge axe in all directions. He shouted that the Kugai had not yet learned the fortitude of the ghost. Looking around, Bluebeard noticed with surprise that there were no swords around him anymore. A small sword remained near the demon's body. The knight sat with a blue beard and said that the ghost's armpits were so soft. The Kugai pressed on the demon's body from the inside. He noticed that it was very soft. Suddenly the sword pierced the blue beard right through. He screamed that he was in great pain. Bluebeard had a huge hole under his hand. The main character flew out from there with his sword. Bluebeard continued to make attempts to hit the main character. His experience points grew. The main character's purification gauge continued to increase. Kugai prepared to strike the demon with his sword. The main character said that he would be very sorry to kill the demon right away. Kugai added that Bluebeard gives him a lot of experience points for free. The knight swung his sword. From the blow of the sword, Bluebeard shouted that he was in great pain. He released his axe. A huge axe began to slowly fall from a height onto the girls standing below. The frightened dragon shouted to her friends to disperse as soon as possible. The axe was almost frozen over the dragon. Princess Olivia shouted to the girl that she was about to be cut to pieces. As a result, a huge axe stuck into the ground and raised a heap of dust. The dragon girl was nowhere to be seen around. At the last moments, the dragon was able to deviate from the axe, but it cut the remains of her clothes. The girlfriends were very scared. They decided that the demon's axe killed the dragon. The dragon girl appeared safe and sound. She no longer had any clothes on. The main character approached. on his huge sword lay a piece of the rest of the dragon's clothing. The main character covered the naked dragon with his white knight's cloak. Kugai hugged the dragon and told the girl that she had already lost the rest of her clothes to the old man with blue beard. The knight thought to himself that, according to the classic plot, he saved the beauty. He wondered if the dragon would love him to the point of losing his mind. In his imagination, the guy saw how the girl would gently reproach him for not dying and not telling her about it. In reality, the girl attacked the guy and began hitting him with her hands with all her might. The girl angrily screamed at the guy that he should have told her that he survived, and she was very worried. The main character sadly thought that such coquetry from the dragon was killing him. Suddenly, the voice of a blue beard was heard from the side. He said with nostalgia that for some reason he was bored. The demon said in a voice full of feelings that he missed being squeezed by curvy legs. Bluebeard spoke with a nostalgic feeling about the cozy, satisfied happiness of life. He felt this way for a very long time. Kugai angrily shouted at the demon so that he would not put his desires on the same level. Bluebeard turned to the guy and said that he would now tear his girl apart right before his eyes. The main character turned around. He decided to try to somehow crush the demon. Kugai picked up a piece of the girl's clothing. He told the dragon to stand behind him. After that, the main character told himself that everything was fine and he needed to relax. The dragon hugged the main character and noticed that the thorn was still sticking out from behind. After that, the girl stepped with her foot on a thorn that was sticking out from the back of the Kugai. The main character's body was pierced by very strong pain. He didn't even have time to scream. The dragon told the main character that he had a bone stuck in his butt. Kugai shouted to the girl not to move. After that, the girl stepped on a thorn in the protagonist's butt with her foot. The knight's body was pierced by very strong pain. He screamed and could no longer stand still. Kugai ran as fast as he could around the area with the girl on his back and shouted that he was in great pain. The knight continued to scream and run in different directions. The dragon was held on his back. The main character asked his girlfriend angrily, "Does she really want him dead?" The dragon said that she forgot that the tip was sharp. Bluebeard was surprised by the current situation. Kugai, angry, ran with his sword against the demon. The knight shouted that he was getting more and more painful. Bluebeard saw a mighty heroic light in front of him. The main character continued to run towards the demon. Bluebeard shouted at him to stop. The knight used his sword to defeat the demon many times. He got a lot of points for it. Bluebeard was very surprised. He asked in a tragic voice, "Why did the knight strike him so?" The main character looked at the demon and told him with tears in his voice that this was the result. The demon realized that the guy was clearly able to hit him. Kugai still felt severe pain. "There were tears in my eyes." The main character with the girl on his back began to move away. Bluebeard began to disintegrate. Very soon the demon Bluebeard began to completely wear off and completely disappear. Princess Olivia and the cow were very happy that the main character won. The dragon shouted that her knight was cool. The main character told the girl to take it easy, otherwise she would strangle him. The main character thought to himself that he had grown in experience and now his ass hurt so much. At this time, a hunter archer began to approach the main character. She wanted to fight him again. Kugai ordered the dragon to take a firmer hold of him. The huntress prepared to shoot with a bow. One of the launched arrows hit the main character in the shoulder. He had a bloody wound. The main character grabbed his wounded hand. He thought that the huntress still did not want to leave them. The archer asked the knight, if he has such great strength, why did he play with her for so long? The main character calmly answered the girl that he could not be more severe towards her. After that the knight pressed his wound. He told the huntress that he was playing with her. The main character shouted that he was quite interested. The huntress got scared and covered herself with her hand. The main character, in order to save himself, activated a wind spell for a secret escape. The huntress felt some kind of green fog begin to envelop her. She covered herself with her hand. Opening her eyes, the girl shouted angrily at the main character that he was an idiot. The huntress took out her bow and shouted to the main character that she would kill him. The girl noticed that the guy had disappeared. At the same time, the knight, along with his girls, fled through the forest thicket. The main character ran with all his might. He carried a dragon and a cow in his arms. The dragon and the cow were resting calmly while the guy carried them in his arms. The princess was indignant. Why are the girls being carried away again? Unexpectedly, at full speed, the main character tripped over a snag and began to fall. The knight released from his hands the girls he was carrying in his arms. The dragon fell first. At the same time, Princess Olivia also fell to the ground along with the main character. After the fall, the dragon girl fell and rolled on the ground, raising clouds of dust. The brawl felt that she had hit her but very hard. She lifted the hem of her robe a little. The dragon shouted to the main character to remove his hands. She decided that now she would definitely become swollen. The cow looked at the main character and shouted that he was hurt again. Kugai lay face down on the ground. The princess approached a large cliff. She shouted that they needed to get over it. Olivia said that if they didn't get over the cliff, they would bleed. The girls saw a huntress riding on a boar rushing towards them at full speed. The girls decided that the formidable archer would definitely not leave them alone now. The cow asked the princess how they could save themselves now. Olivia replied that they would be saved if someone took them and flew away. Both girls turned around and looked at the dragon standing nearby with great attention. The dragon asked with great surprise, "Which of them will fly?" The princess shouted that the flying dragon is here. The main character approached. He told them calmly not to load the incompetent. After that the guy took off his pants. He told the surprised girls that now they need to do everything they can. The main character, standing in front of his girlfriends, asked which of them would undress first. All three girls were very surprised, shy, and embarrassed. The huntress approached the edge of the abyss. Looking down, she saw how cheerful the items of clothing were there. The archer stood for a long time and thought thoughtfully, did the guy and the girls really go downstairs? At this time, the boar discovered something interesting to the side and grunted excitedly. The archer, standing next to the boar, noticed how a wooden hut stood nearby not far away. After that, the boar ran up to the hut at full speed and crashed into it. The huntress asked the boar if he was sure that the runaways could be hiding here. The huntress looked carefully at the hole in the door. She saw the silhouette of a girl there. After that, the archer decided to grab the girl sitting inside the hut. She extended her hand. The archer pulled a small girl wearing a sheep costume out of the hut. The archer held the girl by the throat. She thought to herself that she must have made a mistake. The huntress strictly asked the captured girl if she belonged to the genus of wolves. Unexpectedly, the huntress noticed that there were several large baskets in the hut. The girl asked the archer if she was related or somehow with the knight. The girl with tears in her eyes asked the huntress, has she really angered her with something? The huntress turned to the girl and thought, did she accidentally wound her? The huntress asked the girl, can she now tell where the unfamiliar knight went? The girl said that the runaways only asked how to get to the sanctuary and immediately left. She doesn't know where they are. The girl hugged the huntress. She said that she was very glad that the archer and the knight were enemies. The girl said with fear that everyone who wants to enter the sanctuary at twilight is a creepy character. After that, the girl looked at the hunter's underwear and said that she had exposed cute rabbits. The huntress, as if nothing had happened, said calmly that everything was not so bad. The girl said quietly that the huntress would be the first to be cut into pieces by those people even more mercilessly. The huntress turned around and looked at her new acquaintance with great fear and surprise. The huntress realistically imagined how the little bunny girl was attacked by evil people. The archer was very scared. She was still thinking about the sanctuary the girl had told her about. After a long pause and reflection, the huntress thanked her new friend for the information about the sanctuary. The girl asked in surprise, will the huntress really go to the sanctuary? The archer said she would go. The huntress repeated to herself that anyone who hits the little rabbit must die. The girl stood near the hut and was surprised how the archer was inflamed with fighting spirit. After that, the girl noticed how the archer sat on the boar. She was surprised and ran up to her. The girl asked the huntress, isn't she afraid of pricking herself while sitting on a boar? The huntress shouted to the girl that this did not concern her. She galloped into the distance, standing on a hog. The girl slyly thought to herself that although the killer had come to her, she turned out to be very naive. After that, the girl approached the basket and asked the people sitting inside, is the huntress really so dangerous? The main character and his girlfriends jumped out of the basket. The main character told the girl that she had not seen the hunter in action. Kugai told the girl not to listen to the dragon, as she expresses her thoughts strangely. The main character turned to a new girl he knew and thanked her for covering for them. The girl told Kugai that it is not often possible to meet such a prominent knight like him. Looking at the guy, the girl said that it was very humiliating that they were being followed and they almost lost their underwear. After that, the girl ran up to the dragon and said in delight that it was the first time she had seen such a legend. The dragon really liked this compliment from the girl. The knight stood at this time and felt embarrassed. The girl asked the dragon how she came to the point where she was hiding in the barn with these little people. The dragon replied angrily that there was no need to sympathize with her. At this time, the girl approached Princess Olivia and called her smart. Olivia grabbed the girl's face with her hand and said that she herself knew all her flaws. Princess Olivia said that the main character needs to find a place where he can wash properly. The girl from the hut led her new acquaintances into the bathroom. She said they could use it. The cow asked the girl while she was looking for clean clothes, what advantages could she name? The girl did not answer the cow, she simply threw away the large blanket. After that, the teen wolf girl said that let the cow take a shower in warm water to wash away all her worries. Suddenly the cow saw something and was very shocked and surprised. The cow asked the wolf girl, is there really a wolf idol named Seongaj on the shower curtain? The cow, looking at the picture of the guy on the shower curtain, said that he was the wolf of her dreams. The cow explained that the wolf guy was a regular customer of hers. She added that the guy has a good figure. After that, the cow whispered in the ear of the wolf girl how to attract male wolves. The cow, after saying the words, calmly went into the shower. Teen wolf girl was amazed and shocked. The main character, looking at the crying wolf cub, thought that women can look weak but at the same time inflict fatal injuries in unexpected places. The main character was sitting at the tea table. He turned to the wolf girl. Kugai told the girl not to lose heart. He added that disappointment is common. The wolf cub said with tears in her eyes that Seongaj only today became her idol. The knight was very surprised. The main character reassuringly told the girl that she would live longer than her idol boyfriend. The wolf cub said to herself that the knight turned out to be an optimistic person. The main character smiled and looked at the girl. He noticed something unusual about her. Kugai noticed his reflection in the wolf cub's eye. The status showed that the guy was a disqualified NPC. The main character has only now realized that the wolf cub is a special character. The wolf cub could see the status of other players. She herself was a nuclear good NPC. The main character, sitting at the table opposite the wolf cub, asked what kind of person she was. The girl happily agreed to tell the guy who she really is. The girl said that she was the only daughter of the 15th generation of the wolf clan named Lester Feifuten. Kugai said that was not what he was asking. The Lester girl calmly answered her knight interlocutor so that he would not worry. After this, the wolf cub said that her ability was absolutely nothing special. The wolf clan is the most military capable among the animal ethnic groups. Lester said sadly that she was born into a powerful family of wolves. The girl said that she was a very useless child in her family. The little girl was so troubled that she couldn't drink her mother's milk. The wolf mother could not feed her daughter, since the girl had a very small mouth. The mother left her crying daughter and shouted that she should not dare blame her for being so worthless. The mother said that if such a weak child dies, there will be nothing terrible. As a result, the girl's peculiarity awakened. To survive, the very small wolf cub had to open her mouth and beg. The daughter threateningly shouted to the she-wolf mother that if she did not feed her enough, she would tell her about her adventures to the prophet next door. The wolf mother shouted menacingly at her daughter and called her shameless. The mother had the status of an NPC whore. The main character was amazed by this story. He said that Lester has a very super cool ability. Kugai asked the girl how she learned to swear when she was little. The wolf cub said that all this was in the past and there was no need to raise this topic. The main character thought. He once again analyzed the story he heard from Lester. The knight asked the wolf cub why didn't she run away from her mother. Lester answered that although her mother didn't love her, she still raised her. The mother was afraid that her sin would be revealed. She wanted to kill her prophet father, but he was able to finish her off first. Kugai said that according to the wolf cub's stories, her relationship with her mother cannot be called ungrateful or soulless. Unexpectedly, Lester very seriously addressed the main character, calling him a master knight. The wolf cub asked Kugai if he received his red status because of betrayal. The knight replied that the girl understood everything wrong. Having calmed down a little, Lester told the guy that she understood everything and put her hand on his arm. The little wolf took the main character's hands with her hands and said that she believed him. Lester told the guy that he was a coward and he would not have the courage to cheat. Kugai shyly turned away. The wolf cub told the guy that he had a large purification scale. She assumed that he was a superpowered person. The wolf cub told the knight that he needed to kill a super powerful guy in order to change his status to green. Kugai asked Lester with interest if she had seen a suitable opponent for him. The wolf cub said thoughtfully that she had recently met the desired candidate, but could not immediately remember. At this time one of the girls stuck her hand out of the shower. She asked the wolf cub to bring her a piece of soap. The main character was delighted to hear such words from the girl from the shower. The little wolf said that she would bring soap now. Lester began to rummage through the boxes. She remembered that there was a lot of soap stored there. The little wolf happily took a piece of soap from her hand and said what she had found. At this time, the kettle began to make noise on the stove. Lester told the main character to help her put out the fire, as the water was boiling. The main character turned around. He was thinking what he should tell the wolf cub so that she would put out the fire herself. Kugai turned around and said in a calm voice that he was very bad at household chores. The knight took a piece of soap from the girl's hand and said that he would take it. The wolf cub told the guy that she relied on him. The excited protagonist ran to the shower. He thought that he would first rub the girl and then talk to her. Kugai brought a piece of soap to the girl's hand near the curtain and accidentally dropped it on the floor. The main character shouted that he would pick everything up himself and rushed for the soap on the floor. The knight drove under the shower curtain at full speed. He wanted to see the girls there. Kugai, very excited, decided to himself that now he would see the juice. Lying on the shower floor, the main character was amazed because of what he saw there. The guy noticed that the dragon and the cow had turned into their original selves in the form of a cow and a dragon. The cow called Kugai a pervert. The guy couldn't move from surprise. The agitated and annoyed protagonist said that this was not what he wanted to see. Then a cheerful voice was heard from the side in the shower. Girls, it was Princess Olivia. The princess turned to the dragon and the cow and said that she was inviting them to try out the back shuffling technique. After this, the princess, squeezing the water out of her clothes, asked her friends, "Are they really scared?" The main character looked at the princess in surprise. He didn't understand. Why does she have a pumped-up body? Kugai, looking at the muscles on Olivia's body, did not understand. Where did they come from? The last thing the main character remembered was how the girl's hand was heading towards his face. Having woken up, the knight heard the voice of the wolf cub. She asked how he managed to get hurt like that. Kugai had many bruises on his body. Lester asked the main character, did he inadvertently see girls without makeup? The wolf cub asked the guy in surprise, was it really worse that he saw girls without makeup? The annoyed protagonist said that everything was 1,000 times worse. Shower curtain opened and Princess Olivia said that the main character expected to see something different. The wolf cub and the main character were amazed and surprised when they saw the princess. Olivia came out of the shower and said dissatisfiedly that she was wearing a very poor dress. The princess complained to the wolf cub that the dress could not hide anything on her. Olivia said to Lester that her clothes and the brain of the main character are equally pathetic. At this time the voice of a cow was heard. She turned to the princess and asked if she really lied to her. The cow put on a miniature dress and asked Olivia, do these clothes need to be worn this way? The wolf cub said admiringly that such a girl fits perfectly on big girls. Suddenly a loud scream was heard from behind the curtain. It was a dragon. Those around became worried. The main characters jumped onto the table and wanted to run to the dragon. He thought something had happened to her. Kugai opened the shower curtain and looked in. He asked the dragon what could have happened to her. The main character saw a dragon. He became very worried and aroused by the sight of her. The dragon said offendedly that she was completely unable to fit her breasts into her clothes, although she had not gained weight. The wolf cub looked through the curtain and said joyfully that she finally understood. Lester pointed the guy to the dragon and said that he should kill her, since she is a super powerful person. The dragon asked, what does the wolf cub already mean? Does the knight really want to kill her here? Kugai began to make excuses. After that, the dragon hit the knight with all her might. The guy shouted to her that he told her no. The wolf cub told her guests, holding a pillow in her hands, that her house was small and there was only one bed. Lester told the guests that they would spend that night on the floor. The main character said that Lester had already done a lot for them. Unexpectedly the knight noticed how the dragon grabbed the pillow very angrily. Treats others well and treats her anyhow. The dragon went to another part of the room and told the knight that she would not sleep with him in an embrace. The wolf cub told her guests to rest and she would go. The knight looked sadly at the dragon. After that, Lester slammed the door and wished her guests good night. Kugai also wished him good night in response. The main character reached for the lamp and turned off the light. The room plunged into darkness. The guy was lying on the pillow, looking sadly up at the ceiling. He couldn't sleep. Kugai turned and looked to the side and saw how the girls had long since fallen asleep. The main character lay with his eyes open. He could not sleep and remembered past events. Looking to the side, the Kugai saw that the princess was lying next to him. He looked at her carefully. After that, the guy carefully lifted the dress on Olivia's body to take a closer look at her body. The princess, absolutely calm, told the knight to stop looking. Olivia explained to the guy that her muscles can only be seen while taking a bath. The princess said that if you take a bath with a dragon since childhood, you will definitely change somehow. Kugai asked if Olivia and the dragon really washed themselves in lava. Kugai imagined the princess along with the dragon in the lava. He said that if we are talking about Olivia, then this is quite possible. The knight thought to himself that there are a lot of strange things. The girl was kidnapped by a dragon and placed in a cave, and then they washed together. The princess told the guy that there was no need to guess. She added that her relationship is not the same as they say in the outside world. Lying on her back and looking at the ceiling, the princess said that the so-called captivity was just an exaggeration. After the first meeting with the princess, the dragon was still very stupid. Olivia tried to fight against the monster. The princess shouted to the dragon that he must send her back, otherwise she will break his teeth. The dragon calmly and gently approached Olivia. Very soon the princess felt that she was hungry. She didn't understand why she hadn't been saved yet. The dragon brought a fish for Olivia to eat. The princess was surprised and delighted. The dragon wasn't that bad. She brought a lot of food for the princess. The dragon was lighting a fire to cook fish for the girl. The monster was relatively kind. For Olivia, the dragon turned out to be a better friend compared to those who tricked her into this cave. The king and queen told their daughter that her brother had disappeared in the dragon's cave and asked her to save him. They promised Olivia that they would save her later too. Believing the king and queen, the little princess went with a small sword into the cave. Then the soldiers appeared. They wanted to rescue the princess from the cave. At this time, the king and queen took the little prince with them from the cave. As a result, the little princess was left alone with the dragon. She realized that she had simply been deceived. Upset, Olivia realized that everyone had deceived her. She will stay here in the cave. In the end, the princess decided to stay in the dragon's cave. Kugai asked Olivia with interest, "Does she still love the dragon?" The princess replied that she was just showing mercy to thank the dragon. Olivia grabbed the guy by the shirt and said that he could be just like the rest of the scum knights. Olivia told the guy that the knights were playing with the feelings of a ferocious dragon in order to later kill her. The princess threateningly warned the protagonist that if he behaved badly, she would send him to his death. At this time, the dragon turned around in her sleep and caught Olivia in the face with her hand. As a result, the princess was completely knocked out by the dragon's blow. Kugai looked at everything with incomprehension. After that, the dragon jumped over the lying princess straight to the main character. Kugai looked with interest and tenderness at the dragon that was lying next to him. In her sleep, the girl whispered that she knew that the guy would not bully her. Kugai calmly told the dragon that she really wouldn't bully her. The knight added that the dragon was used to tumbling in lava in her cave and therefore now she cannot sleep peacefully. The guy held the dragon in his hands and noticed something interesting on her face. Kugai saw a scratch on the girl's face, which was still fresh and had not healed. The dragon received it during their escape from the huntress. The guy looked at his purification level, which showed 164 units. The knight thought that after killing Bluebeard, the number should have been 154. Suddenly the guy realized with shock that a scratch on the dragon's face was worth 10 points. The main character looked at the sleeping dragon and thought how he could help her now. The guy was very worried. He really didn't want the girl to have a scar. At this time, the wolf cub carefully watched everything that was happening from her room. She thought she could cast a restoration spell. The wolf cub slyly thought that initially the feelings were good. In front of her on the pillow lay a magical purple ball. The wolf cub communicated with Lady Louise using the ball. Louise asked the girl, would Kugai be the best option, since he is a dragon tamer? The wolf cub said that the knight would very quickly be able to prove his superiority. Louise replied that if the head priestess of the sanctuary said so, then she also agreed. Suddenly Louise screamed. The little wolf excitedly asked if Lady Louise was all right. Louise's image appeared again in the ball. She replied that nothing had happened to her. Louise demanded that the wolf cub bring the main character if she spoke so well of him. The wolf cub demanded that Lady Louise wait. After this, Louise turned to her friend Simon. She asked him not to interfere with her when she was doing serious things. The guy said that he just pinched Louise's leg. Simon held Lady Louise's leg in his hands and gently stroked it slowly. Simon looked at Louise with a piercing gaze and asked, wasn't she just pleased? The next morning, the main character was very surprised that the wolf cub said that they needed to go to the sanctuary. The wolf cub, sitting at the table, told her guests in an important voice that there might be guys in this area that they couldn't handle. The wolf cub explained that you need to get into the sanctuary in order to receive the protection of Her Majesty the Wise Woman. Only she will help the knight and his companions avoid danger. Kugai told the wolf cub that a hunter on a boar was also traveling to the sanctuary. She can't let her find them. At the same time, the main character remembered the dangerous hunter archer. For some reason she seemed beautiful to him. The main character felt tired and dejected. He didn't want to meet the huntress again. The wolf cub said confidently that the commoner hunter would not be able to cope with her clan. In a special clan of wolves there were a lot of strong and merciless warriors. The wolf cub said that the wolf family has been guarding the sanctuary for the 8th generation of royal Chita. After that, the wolf cub took out a set of cards and said that these were magical protective cards of her kind. The little wolf explained that everyone should stick this card in a prominent place and in case of danger the wolf army will help them. The dragon was the first to stick the card. After that, the wolf cub glued a magic card from the wolves to the main character's forehead. Then the wolf cub glued a magical protective card to Olivia's forehead. The cowgirl received the most recent protective card from the wolf cub. The dragon said that she felt the card warm her head. Kugeu, the hieroglyph on his head, seemed impolite. After that, the wolf cub turned around and walked away. The main character looked after her. The wolf cub sadly warned her guests that some difficulties might await them on the way to the sanctuary. After this, the wolf cub told the knight that she would like to give him a small gift. The little wolf hugged the main character tenderly and told him not to push her away. The dragon stood aside and looked at the knight and the wolf cub with great displeasure. After that, the wolf cub took and kissed Kugai goodbye. The guy was unpleasantly surprised. The wolf cub ran to the side. The guy was confused. Those around the girl laughed. The wolf cub smiled very slyly and told the main character that now everything was definitely over. The main character, after kissing the wolf cub, felt something change inside him. The little wolf said that she has special powers. Thanks to this, a person can see what is usually hidden. Kugai looked around and immediately saw that he now had special vision. The princess asked if the knight would not see what he should not. Kugai got the opportunity to see the purification scale above the characters. Kugai noticed that Olivia had no progress at all on the purification scale. The main character couldn't understand why he couldn't see the purification scale above the cow. The cow said a little shyly that the guy cannot see what is not intended for him. The wolf cub cheerfully said that the Kugai does not see the scale in the cow because she is weak. After that, the cow showed those around her chest and said that this is all she has. The dragon angrily thought that a stranger had shown a small favor to the main character and he immediately stuck to him. After that, the dragon grabbed the hem of her dress and said that she also wanted to show something similar. The main character, looking slyly at the cow, thought that he didn't really like big ones. The knight looked at the dragon and was very amazed at how huge it was. Kugai noticed with surprise that the dragon had such a large amount of purification on her scale that it was blocked. The cow became very worried because the dragon had something more than her. The dragon looked at her sensor, which showed that her total purification amount was blocked. The knight said that the dragon's strength did not show her true potential. The wolf cub explained that Dracosha had not yet awakened her blood. The main character was surprised and worried by these words. He did not understand what kind of blood the dragon was supposed to awaken. The wolf cub explained that it was necessary to ensure that the holy priestess personally met with the dragoness. The main character became worried because the saint wanted to meet the dragon. The dragon demanded that the guy bring her a lot of goodies so that she would forgive him. Kugai decided that there was a possibility that the holy priestess would change his fate and the fate of the dragon. After that, the knight looked at the smiling dragon who stood next to him. The very cheerful and joyful main character grabbed the surprised dragon in a hug. The knight cheerfully shouted that they were going to the sanctuary. The dragon said that she had not yet forgiven the guy. The princess stood on the street and said that it was time for them to go. The wolf cub looked very carefully and with great interest at the leaving guy with the girls. The main character found himself in the forest. He was attacked by a bunch of goblins. The system defined them as NPC cannon fodder. The knight said, standing aside, that because of these hillbillies he was here alone. The goblin said that they still have brothers. The goblin sternly said that if people want to go through this road to the sanctuary, then they need to pay. The knight asked the goblin with great surprise, which brothers is he talking about? Kugai I asked the goblin if he really meant a bunch of monsters that he had already dealt with. The goblins were surprised and very angry that the main character was able to chop up so many of their brothers. The monsters attacked the guy. They shouted that they would never let him through and he killed many of their brothers to avoid paying for passage. Kugai took his magic sword. He shouted to the goblins that they were annoying him. The main character thought that the monsters were worthless garbage for him to farm experience. Suddenly a huge goblin with a club attacked the knight from above and asked, was the guy expecting him? Olivia decided to attack the goblin. The guy shouted to her to be careful. The princess was able to cut the monster's club. The princess, with the help of a powerful blow, was able to completely neutralize the monster. The knight asked the princess, where did she get the sword? Olivia replied that she was taking weapons from the corpses behind. The cow could not understand where so many gold coins came from. The cat dragon took and swallowed one coin. She said that she likes to eat. The main character thanked the wolf cub. Thanks to her, he rose to a high level and gained a lot of experience. The wolf cub said that the knight is smart and he achieved everything thanks to his determined efforts. It could have been that the knight would have attacked the enemies for a very long time, having little strength. Kugai joyfully told his companions that they were finally able to go their way. The knight saw a huge palace ahead and said that they had finally reached the sanctuary. The wolf cub warned that many visitors live outside the sanctuary and disrupt local order with their brawls. The knight replied that he would do his best. The main character and his companions approached the huge doors of the palace. The wolf cub looked around and said that it was very strange. For some reason it was very calm at the sanctuary. The wolf cub asked with great surprise, when did they manage to lay a lawn here? The main character and companions felt as if the earth was shaking under their feet. Olivia shouted for everyone to be calm. The main character cast a spell on his girlfriends for protection and told them not to be afraid. Kugai reliably protected his girls with the help of a special magic dome. The main character was surprised that he saw huge roots coming out of the ground en masse. The wolf cub said in fear that it was evil spirits. There were a lot of human bodies entangled in the green roots. Unexpectedly, the girl sitting in the flower told the surprised guests that there are surprisingly many people who want to die. Kugai and his companions took a closer look and saw a girl sitting in the middle of a pink flower. The girl was sitting on a pink flower and it was clear that she controlled the green roots. The girl said that she could swallow everyone and even more. The scale showed that the girl was a supporting NPC. The main character was hidden under a magic cap along with his girlfriends. Unexpectedly, the creeping green vines were able to break through the casing of the cap and it cracked. The girls were very scared. They grabbed each other. The dragon covered the wolf cub with her wings. The main character shouted to his girlfriends to be careful. Suddenly Kugai noticed that above the green vines there were indicators of their standard of living. The knight shouted to his girlfriends to attack the creeping vines. He himself struck the vines with his sword. The princess shouted to the guy that she would believe him this time. She swung her sword. Olivia began using the ball to chop vines left and right with all her might. Kugai chopped vines with his sword and for each of them he received additional points. The main character thought with surprise that each vine has its own power scale. The main character could not understand where the source of power for the green tentacles that attack was. The green girl looked at the passing guests and said that they were persistent. She decided that they would be good fertilizer. The green girl turned to the flower named Barbara and asked if such viable food would suit her. The main character could not understand how there could be so much power in one flower. The green girl told the flower that he should eat first. Kugai decided to himself that the flower was grown for suspicious purposes. Unexpectedly, Some guy standing nearby told the knight that he was striking somehow hesitantly. The main character looked at the guy. He saw that he had a scale of his purification level above his head. The guy was completely entwined with green vines. He was surprised that this NPC's level of purification reached 4,000. The guy told Kugai that the dragon should show greatness and cause thunderous lightning. After this, guests can retreat. The knight did not understand what the word greatness means. After thinking a little, the main character asked the guy with interest. Wrapped in vines, the guy said that the main character is really stupid. Contrary to all expectations, he doesn't even know the basic commands to train your dragon. The main character presented his dragon in a very angry state. The guy explained that dragon majesty can only be used when the dragon feels jealous. After this, the guy told the knight that even ordinary girls would not be jealous of him. The guy wanted to say something else, but at that moment the main character hit him with all his might. The guy fell down. He asked the Kugai in surprise, did he really hit him? The knight answered irritably, couldn't he have hit him? The main character told the guy that he called him a fool because he couldn't figure out the magic flower. Kugai added very angry that he hit the guy because of his words about the girl. After that, the knight pointed the guy in the direction where all his girlfriends were standing together. Kugai said that although he is a simpleton, he was able to get 4 girls and there is nothing more to discuss. The frightened dragon at this time made attempts to free herself from the deadly vines. The princess continued to slash the green tentacles with her sword. She shouted not to brag about it. The main character grabbed his opponent by the head. He thought that if he had more purification points than him, he would also be disqualified. The knight held the guy's head in his hands. He was very pleased because his purification scale was full. At this time, the green girl was sitting on a flower and watching everything that was happening. The green girl told Barbara excitedly that she shouldn't be distracted while eating. At the same time, changes began in the flower. A very strong scream was heard. The dragon was very scared. At this time the flower grabbed her with its green tentacles. The green tentacles began to harass the dragon. She made attempts to escape. The dragon hung upside down. At this time, gold coins fell out of it. The main character grabbed a gold coin with his fingers and asked the guy did he say that he couldn't excite the dragon? After that, the main character shouted that he saw Dracosia. He continued to cut down the green vines. The guy continued to hit the green vines with his sword. The dragon hung from above and looked at the knight with excitement. The dragon fell down and called the main character. She screamed at him about coins and hugs. The girl fell from a great height down. At this time the main character was running towards her with a ball. The main character very quickly collected the coins that fell from the dragon. The girl continued to fall, and the main character turned around and ran in the opposite direction. Kugai began throwing coins at the green girl. He shouted to her angrily that last time he did not show the proper mercy. The green girl was surprised when she noticed that gold coins were flying at her. The dragon looked with surprise and amazement at the behavior of the main character. Suddenly the surrounding picture changed. Flashing lightning appeared in the sky. The girls on the ground were surprised. The guy shouted in fear and admiration that it was the dragon's majesty that appeared to them. The dragon was shrouded in blue fog. Olivia shouted that the dragon's majesty would now come into action. The dragon angrily and irritably said to herself that the knight took her coins and gave them away. The main character slyly thought to himself that he already regrets it a little, although he used a trick to avert his eyes. Kugai held a handful of coins in his hands. He thought to himself that his heart ached for the dragon. A message appeared that the dragon's majesty was already running out. The dragon turned pitifully to the guy. An angry girl shouted to the main character that he was an idiot. The guy was struck by lightning from the sky. The dragon looked at the knight and shouted at him angrily that he was a complete idiot. Kugai lay on the earth, struck and burned by a lightning strike from the sky. The dragon shouted that he had given her coins to another girl. The cow and Olivia watched the dragon's evil actions. They were still entangled in green vines. An angry dragon hung in the sky. Yellowish lightning flashed around her. After that, yellowish lightning from the sky struck the cluster of vines where the green girl was sitting. The green girl was unpleasantly surprised when lightning struck her from the sky. The green girl, irritated, said that the dragoness was angry because of several different coins. After that, the green girl commanded the flower to begin to turn into a tree. The girls hanging on the green vines became even more frightened. They noticed that the flower's vines began to grow. The flower began to turn into a tree, the vines released the large number of people they were holding. The flower began to transform into a tree, the vines began to twist into a huge and powerful column. As a result, there was a huge tall tree on the ground. The princess said in fear that the tree had absorbed all the lightning from the storm. The green girl was floating in the air, she prepared to attack the flying dragon. The green girl commanded from her height for a T-sword to appear for her. As a result, the green girl received a powerful sword, which was made from bunches of vine. The green girl prepared to attack. The wolf cub was surprised that the girl absorbed the storm's lightning attack and turned it into a sword. The green girl looked at her rival with a menacing gaze, she wanted to hit her. Blue lightning appeared from the sky, they started hitting the ground, one of them hit the main character. The excited Princess Olivia shouted to the dragon to wake up quickly. The frightened cow screamed that there would be enough lightning, as the night would now turn into ashes. The main character was lying on the ground struck by lightning, he could no longer protect the dragon. As a result, Dracosia found herself face to face against a green girl with a T-sword. The wolf cub became very excited and angry, looking at the main character. In the end, it turned out that the dragon's greatness was completely transferred into the energy of the main character's body. The green girl turned to the dragon and said that she had a lot of bluffs, she added that the dragon would only last until the moment of impact. The cow shouted in fear that the green girl would now cut the dragon apart. The princess was surprised that the girl had such a powerful sword. Then the freed guy came up, he said that the T-sword can completely cut through any body. The guy sternly said that this is definitely the evil creation of the vine flower. The guy said that the time for tea blossoming and shedding of the tea plant had begun. After that, the guy angrily said that all life, which was fresh as flowers, will eventually die. The guy looked at his hand and said that activating his puppet electric mice would take time. After that he looked at the dragon and shouted that it was too late. The main character suddenly appeared, he grabbed the green girl by her hair with his hand. Kugai told the green girl that she dared to strike and therefore he would twist her head. The green girl noticed that the knight was very skillful in stealing experience. After that, the Kugai began to suck the strength out of her. The knight told the green girl that she was healthy and beautiful, but she was acting like a devil. The main character held the girl from behind, he added that in this game a person, if righteous, is not always good. After this, the green girl ran out of energy and her sword began to collapse. The green girl could no longer fight, her T-sword began to fly apart into leaves. Here at that time a huge tree with a flower still stood on the earth. The main character, together with the green girl, noticed a dragon flying across the sky. The main character looked to the side, he noticed how the tree with the flower began to move. A tree with a flower that walked around the area and scattered everything around with its mighty vines. A dragon stood in his way. The main character activated a collapsing level pure flame spell. The knight stood and tried to stop the tree, there was a dragon next to him. Kugai shouted and shook the dragon so that she would finally wake up and look at him. At this time, a huge flower decided to absorb the completely green girl. As a result, the green girl was completely eaten by her own flower. The dragon suddenly woke up, she started screaming that she was hungry. Kugai asked the girl if she was hungry. The knight told the dragon that he had saved 1 coin for her and did not give it to anyone. After that, the guy threw a few more gold coins into the dragon's mouth. The dragon calmed down, she looked at the guy and took the hands of the main character with her own. The dragon in a weak voice told the guy that he had deceived her. Kugai told the girl that he would not do that again. The dragon hit the guy and said that she was beating him for the last time. The knight decided that this would be fair. After that, the dragon extended her hand and hugged the guy, she was no longer angry with him. The girl happily thought to herself that the knight had left her some coins after all. The dragon held the guy in her arms and said that she would get along with him through force. Princess Olivia, looking at the guy with the dragon, said that it was driving him crazy. The cow said thoughtfully that she did not understand the hobby of the goddess of war. The wolf cub looked at the guy and didn't understand. It was he who was taming the dragon, or she was taming him. The knight had the ability to absorb the dragon's attack into himself. This proved that they had developed a close bond. Suddenly Princess Olivia noticed the danger, she shouted for everyone to move aside. The main character, still holding the dragon in his arms, looked to the side. The main character with the dragon in his arms managed to jump away from the danger in time. a huge green pillar of flame hit the ground very hard from the sky. The green girl appeared. She told the knight in a calm voice that he was lucky. Kugai noticed with great surprise that the green girl's power scale above her head had changed. The power scale above the green girl showed that she had 2,000 units. The girl was holding a huge shield in her hand. The green girl told the guy that after meeting with her magical flower shield, he would not last long. Such a floral shield dissolved any creature upon touch. The magic flower turned into armor that was the right size for the green girl. The wolf cub excitedly shouted to the knight that the green girl's strength was greater than his. Kugai thought that he knew this very well. The green girl stood nearby and prepared to attack the main character. The green girl pushed off with her foot and began to run. The main character realized that this girl has very high speed. The green girl ran at full speed. She held her magic shield in front of her. The main character noticed with fear that his rival was very fast. He needed to figure out how to escape. Kugai looked at the dragon and realized that this time he would not be able to arouse jealousy through her dragon greatness. The dragon decided to tease the green girl. She asked, "Did the guy give her counterfeit coins?" The green girl looked and asked who was blathering there. "Is it really a stupid dragon?" Then the main character pushed off the ground and flew up together with the dragon. The green girl tried to grab the main character and the dragon, launching a green vine against them. The main character was able to jump back and break the green tentacles that wanted to bind them. The dragon looked with excitement and saw how green vines continued to head towards them around them. The main character hugged the dragon close to him to protect him. He realized that they might not be able to escape. At this time, a freed guy appeared. He shouted that the activation was starting. The guy commanded that puppet electric mice climb out of the ground. A whole flock of mice got out and they all chased the green girl. She started to run away. The green girl continued to run away, but the mice were still able to carry her. The mice rushed at the girl and began to eat her body with gusto. The wolf girl said that such feeding mice can gnaw through any plants. The guy added that thanks to the recent dragon greatness, the electric mice absorbed enough electricity and became invincible. The green girl fought off the mice. She ran away and screamed at them to get out. The green girl shouted to her sword with a flower to fasten it. At this time, the main character activated the holy sword to fight with the green girl. A flock of mice was running around the green girl. A knight also began to approach her. The main character ran at full speed against the green girl. She tried to defend herself with a sword. The green girl noticed with fear that the main character might have enough strength to hit her. Kugai swung and with a strong blow of his sword smashed the green girl's magical shield. The green girl was amazed. She watched as her shield with a flower scattered. After this, the main character began to extract magic from the destroyed magic shield. After this, the process of restoring the flower and changing its appearance began. The main character slyly thought to himself to use the flower against the green girl. As a result, the green girl's arms and legs were shackled by the strong trunk of the flower. The green girl lay on the ground and could not even move, as her body was bound by the root of the flower.